Yeah, they've been pretty incredible. So we will
Last
prove
two
it.
is
Let's just say we needed the
I
rain.
mean, yeah, that's for sure. We need to keep the rain.
Yeah.
Those are, yep, ready.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the July 12th Newmarket Planning Board meeting. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. First on the agenda is public comments. Anybody have anything to talk about that's not on the agenda?
Let me just
If you
ask,
do, no, if you
is
want,
this on the agenda? If it is,
why don't you come up here for a minute? Give me a name and
Yeah, you want to speak?
so people at home can hear. I'm not sure.
my name is Barbara Briggs. I received a letter from the planning committee telling me you were going to change the zoning, I guess, on something at 11 Chapel Street.
That's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda. That's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Nobody else? All right, I'll close the public comment section at 7:04. Next is review and approval of minutes. Is there a motion? The minutes of June 14.
Make a motion. Sorry. Make a motion that we accept the minutes of June 14th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah. Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Unanimously. All right, before we get into regular business, I see Jane isn't here, so Mikhail, you'll sit in to replace her. Okay. All right, so first on the regular business, pursuant to section 24-1, zoning ordinance amendment procedures of the municipal town code of Newmarket, New Hampshire, the planning board will hear a presentation from environmental director Sean Gregg and Michael Curry of Wright Pierce Engineering on proposed amendments to section 32-238 impact fees to replace the water and sewer impact fees with a single system development charge for both wastewater and water, and to make recommendations to the town council on the proposed amendments or take any other action relative thereto. So with that, I will open it up. I see Mr. Gregg here.
Thanks for having us tonight. Mike Curry and I were charged with, from Wright Pierce, we're charged with looking at impact fees and looking at what a system development charge for the water and sewer would be. We both worked together on it, and I'm going to have Mike Curry come up and give the presentation of what our product of our work is.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and sitting in on this presentation. So the date on this is May 2022. We had previously given this to the town council. This is the exact same presentation. My goal here is to keep it as sort of a discussion. So if you see a slide and you have a question, feel free to raise a hand and we can continue on discussion on whatever your question might be. So a quick outline on this presentation. We're going to start off with a little bit of the town's background, introduction into impact fees and system development charges, what the town's done up to this point, back 20 years essentially. Then we'll continue on with how system development charges are actually developed, and we'll continue and summarize with Newmarket specific system development charges and what those numbers came out to be for the town. So going back all the way to the year 2000, the town worked with BCM Planning to develop the methodologies for impact fee assessment. So this is the document really that the town relies on today in order to determine what the impact fees for development. This defines the term impact fee, which, as many of you may know, is under the New Hampshire state statute. It's a very specific term that's used for local land use and planning. What this does is it means that any impact fee can only be used for capital improvements relating directly to the demand for that new development. So any upgrading of existing facilities on the water or wastewater side are excluded for use from that impact fee. So this document described water and sewer impact fee methodologies. And again, like I mentioned, it developed the basis for the current impact fee schedule which is used. The table off to the right, this is what the town uses currently to assess impact fees for any new development or connections to the water or sewer systems. In 2011, the town worked with BCM to update this report and review the impact fees and policies with how the town was using it. What this updated report found was that really the town was intending to use the impact fees as more of a utility-based capital fee as opposed to an impact fee, and it made a bunch of recommendations for the town to make change in terms of how they were going to use an impact fee. The biggest change is really that the town switched from, again, an impact fee, which is a specific statute from RSA 674, and convert it to a utility-based capital fee, which would be covered under wastewater and water utilities. What this would do is it would enable the town more flexibility with how that fee is actually used. You wouldn't only be able to use it for a certain timeline horizon or for only new development. What the town would then be able to do is actually be able to use that fee and potentially upgrade existing infrastructure, which isn't currently necessarily allowed under the impact fee. So a little bit of a background. This is just going to sort of set the stage with how the town currently calculates their water and sewer fee structures. So the fees assessed in two forms. There's an impact fee, which is based on an impact fee rate, which is what was calculated back in 2000. It's also based on requested gallon per day for whatever that new development is. And then on top of that, there's a hookup fee. So I really separated it. We were going to take an example for a single family unit, which back in that document, that BCM 2000 document, determined that a detached unit for a single family would have about 183 gallons per day of demand. So we took our unit impact fee rate, multiplied it by 183 gallons per day, and we add $1,000 for what the town is currently charging for the water connection hookup fee. Same thing on the sewer side. Instead of this being $4.03 per gallon demand, it's $6.70, same demand, and then the $1,000 hookup fee for sewer. So the total water and sewer fee for a single family unit that's currently charged under this impact fee assessment is $3,963. We'll come back to this later on when we compare the proposed new structure to the existing structure. So, as we discussed, the utility capital-based fee, that's really called, in terms of state statutes, it's called a system development charge. So we're going to go into a little bit of how system development charges are actually calculated. So the goal of a system development charge is to really develop a water and sewer utility fee that are proportionate to the new connection impact to the system. It's essentially, if you think about it in terms of an approach, it's really what's called a buy-in approach. So the town over the past 50 years has put a lot of capital, a lot of work, a lot of maintenance into an existing system that's already in place. The idea is to value what that system that's already in place is and have them pay a proportionate amount to the other users that have already been paying that over the last 50 years. There's a wide range of calculation approaches that people use across utilities and across different states to calculate this. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Sean and I went through this round and round to figure out what the best method would be for the town of Newmarket. And really what we found was going to be a recovering investment approach in existing infrastructure. So essentially what we would do is we would value existing infrastructure and then proportion that out amongst the users on a gallon basis. So under this capacity buy-in approach, new customers are assessed a utility charge to buy into the existing system. This buy-in rate reflects prior investment of existing customers per unit of total water or wastewater capacity. So similar to impact fees, it's based on per gallon. So if Mike Curry decides I want to open something, there's 1,000 gallon per day, I pay the same gallon per day rate as somebody who's going to open a condo or anything like that. So it's based, again, still on that gallon per day charge. The way that we develop this buy-in approach is we look at both the water and wastewater system as a whole, all of the infrastructure that's associated with it, the wastewater treatment facility, the water treatment facility, the pump stations, and we actually value all of those assets. We take the original asset value if it was constructed 30 years ago, we depreciate those assets. We look at what the asset replacement costs, and we essentially develop what the total value is of the entire system. A few other factors that are considered are outstanding long-term debt on existing infrastructure. So this would be applicable to, say, the wastewater treatment facility where I tied in today. My rates would reflect bond payments that are going to be paid for the next 10 plus years on that treatment facility. So essentially there's a credit on things that are currently being bonded by the town. And also we looked at grants and contributions from older projects. So although that pump station may be worth $1 million, if you look back 20 years ago, maybe there was a 30% grant, we would remove that amount of money from the project or from that specific piece of infrastructure in order to benefit the town. So in terms of developing system development charges, the first step is to define what your standard water and sewer structure is going to be. So this is essentially how do you define how much water or wastewater a specific unit is going to use, say a single residence house. So the current town ordinance references the methodologies for impact fee assessment. Again, that BCM planning report back in 2000 for typical water and wastewater rates. Sean and I looked at this and we compared it to some updated data which the state of New Hampshire uses. We ran the numbers back and forth, and really what we determined is that the estimates that were back in this 2000 report for water use were actually pretty accurate for what the town of Newmarket currently has. So our recommendation was to retain the references for water and sewer use in that 2000 report. Again, if you look at both of these tables, it's fairly simple. It dictates whether it's a single detached unit, a single attached unit, duplex, sort of some of the standard things that the planning board sees in terms of everyday improvements. Now, if there was something that was outside of this that wasn't necessarily in this table that was going to be proposed to the town, what you would do, you would then ask them what their proposed water use would be, and then Sean would evaluate, does that seem reasonable or not?
Just a quick question, is there a
Sure.
reason it's not driven by bedrooms as opposed to property type?
There's some tables do it that way as well. That's one way that the town could decide to do it. It really is sort of your decision on how you'd like to do it. This is sort of the simplified version, I think, that was done for the town to make the planning process easy and make it not have, you could see how this could turn into an extremely detailed list very, very quickly. So I think originally when it was done, they tried to simplify it as much as possible. There are some communities, though, that'll say if it's a single family house plus a number of gallons per bedroom, and they'll do their calculation that way. So after you've determined what your actual structure is going to be for assessing the water and sewer use for each of those individual components, the second step is to develop a new rate, a system development charge rate for your new fee development. So again, our recommendation was to retain the ordinance to retain the ordinance reference to the water and sewer use back in that 2000 report, and just update the unit price fee to reference an updated system development charge instead of an impact fee. So this is where the $6.70 and that $4.03. This is what we're going to go into now a little bit to determine what the actual rate should be if it was going to be deemed a system development charge. So going into Newmarket specifics, what we did is we took the average water system capacity on the drinking water side, 815,000 gallons per day, and proposing a total recoverable equity water value of $17.29 today. Again, this is versus the $4.03 per gallon back in 2000, which was assessed. So an example of our new water fee calculation, this table shows what the current calculation would be. So that's that $737 is using, again, our 183 gallons per day. This is assuming a single residence as an example. And then that's the old number. $4.03 plus our hookup fee, so that's $1,700. And then our proposed calculation is going to be $3,164. But there is no hookup fee. It's just a single charge. And the other piece of this that's really important to note is that from a wastewater infrastructure standpoint, the value of things in 2000 is much different from the value of things now, especially as regulations are tighter and tighter. So that's one of the reasons why that number you could see significantly increases. On the wastewater side of things, we took an average wastewater system capacity of 680,000 gallons per day and proposed a total recoverable equity wastewater value of $19.26 per gallon per day. So again, single detached, single family residence. Our old charge is $1,200. Again, using our old fee of $6.70 with a $1,000 hookup fee, comes to $2,200. Our new fee is $3,526, which is using that 183 gallons per day times our new gallon per day rate. So really what we're doing is we're taking two fee components, we're combining it into one, and we're also restructuring how it's defined from an impact fee to a system development charge, which allows the town much more flexibility in how it's used. So our recommendation summary was to update the town ordinance to replace TAP and impact fees with a single system development charge for both water and wastewater. The 2011 BCM report was very specific about what needed to be done in terms of recommended updates to the town ordinance to make that happen. Second one is to implement total recoverable system development charge rates based on daily water and sewer use requirements. Again, that's taking that $17.29 and $19.26 and replacing the old values in those tables. And again, we looked at the difference in current and future and existing Newmarket rates in terms of how you were using water and wastewater. We recommend keeping the typical rates which were identified in that 2000 report. I think the structure in there is simple, when you look at from a big picture how the town actually assesses the value, it's really going to come out in the noise, in my opinion, if you start to look at sort of the highs and the lows of a couple different approaches. So again, if you're going to look at both of these combined, because if you're connecting a house, you have both a water and sewer connection charge. The current fee calculation would come out to $3,900 approximately, and our proposed calculation would come out to about $6,700. Again, this is for a single detached unit, 183 gallon per day demand. And Sean and I decided it was a good idea to, after we've calculated this number, let's look around. Like, what are other communities doing? And it really is all over the place. Across New Hampshire, many communities haven't done anything with an impact fee for many, many years. It just was the $1,000 that was in the town ordinance since 1985. Nobody really cared about it. But now that infrastructure is becoming more and more costly, regulations are tightening up, it's something that communities are starting to look at more and more as a way to be able to benefit the system. If more people are tying on to the system, they want to make sure they're charging an appropriate rate to support those users. So again, Newmarket's rate was in that $6,700 range. We looked at Exeter, Somersworth, as well as Dover, and we're roughly in the ballpark. Exeter's was a little bit off, a little bit tough to compare apples to apples. It's actually a great point that you made. One of the difficulties is they have a different fee structure, so it's difficult to compare what a single-family residence might be for that one compared to Newmarket. But the Somersworth and Dover, Dover specifically, that's a community that updates theirs almost yearly, I believe, and their number was commensurate with Newmarket's.
And they go by type of residence versus bedrooms, Dover?
I'd have to look back at exactly how they do their calculation. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But this table, what I did is I had to sort of play around with it a little bit to equalize everything. So this should be an apples to apples comparison. It's not, one residence they were assuming 350 gallons per day, and another one they were assuming something else. But I do have the fee structures that those other communities use as well, or the use structures that those other communities use as well, if you'd like that.
Thank you.
Yes,
All right, so,
absolutely.
yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
So what about commercial? I've seen towns where they try to impose a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 fee for somebody to tie in a commercial building. How are we calculating commercial properties?
The commercial properties are calculated just on the same way based on water consumption. If it's not.
Yeah, but there's no history. I mean, a single-family house has a history,
So
say 83 gallons
This
per
has
day.
happened many times.
Yep.
And I request them to submit based on their industry, and they'll submit based on, let's just say it's a coffee shop that wants to come in. They'll say, this is based on our history, this is what we will use for water supply. We review it and agree on it, and then
Okay.
it goes on.
How do you currently do it, Sean, for commercial uses?
If commercial, most of them can fall in, but there's some that don't, and we ask them to supply us with data, that historical data to show what they expect to use for water.
Because you're currently calculating it by an estimated gallon per day for that use, correct, on commercial?
We do it, we
With their
use
tie-in fee?
we use the industry.
Yeah.
I think
The
the
SIC
planning,
code?
the planning does the calculations, does all that work, but I do get the reviews, it also goes through the engineering to get the reviews to review them as well, so it's just not me reviewing them.
Are you using the DEA, DEP, DES septic guidelines for how you design? Which does commercial and residential gallons per day, is that what you're using?
So
Just out of
that's,
curiosity.
that was actually what I used to compare, right? The first step was, all right, what did BCM assume in the past for what Newmarket specific use was? And then I went right to DES's standard for, they use it for septic design, just
Sure.
like you said. The numbers are significantly higher for DES's. So when you start to look at how the impact fees inflate, it meant that that number would have been, $12,000 or $15,000 for that. And when I went back to Sean and we started to look at both, Sean said, well, the BCM planning numbers are actually more realistic for people that are tied into Newmarket on the water and wastewater system. So that's why we felt comfortable with sticking with what we have currently on the BCM planning side. Those septic design system numbers especially, sometimes they're dated back to pre-low flow conditions.
Oh, absolutely, and I think what I've seen is that commercially, sometimes the numbers are ridiculously high. That's why I was asking how you calculate it.
We have not had that issue
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
because
okay.
of the way we've done it.
Okay.
How does this work for a multifamily? Is that driven by bedroom count or square footage?
Yeah, it was in one of the tables there.
Units? I can't read it.
3 to 4, 5. Yeah,
Because that's under our current table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this would be
It's a
the
base.
same. You would use this same exact. fee
And you're
structure.
using it because you're allocating the gallons per day under the new calculations.
Exactly. The only difference that I'm proposing, and this is part of the reason I did this, is because I thought town has been doing this for a long time. This is a good method. These numbers seem accurate for Newmarket. All we need to do is change that $6.70.
So basically it's doubling across the board regardless of the situation. By going in that.
Roughly, yes. If you look at the whole fee itself between the hookup fee and the impact fee, yeah, it's roughly double.
And I will say, we have not touched our hookup fees since the 90s.
Yeah, right. What is the appeal process? Sean, if you and an applicant can't agree, is there an appeal process?
I believe
Is it
the
the town
appeal process comes,
council or?
I believe for hookup fees, it comes through me and then the town manager. But for impact fees, it came through the planning board.
For impact
So-
fees.
Now,
Yeah,
but if
now
this-
I would think the system developer would come through. I'm not sure what the answer is on that.
It would be the
Yeah,
same,
it
it
wouldn't
would be
be
the
us.
same as a hookup fee.
I think it would go
Right.
through your,
It go through.
Yeah, well, I don't
and-
think we would
and-
have
Right,
and-
it'd be
and then
regulatory authority over it.
If it
Correct.
comes through the way the hookup fees work, the process was is they put something in writing to me. I would issue a letter in response. If they did not like the response, they could go to the town manager.
Okay. So to say that this new program would be the same system?
That's the same
basically?
thing.
Now?
Yeah,
Okay.
the town manager is the last.
Okay. Anybody else have anything, any questions?
Was there any discussion about, charges for development of accessory structures? Because currently, we have the impact fees apply, for an accessory apartment, and then particularly if we go to detached accessory apartments, what,
Yeah, accessory dwelling units, how would
Accessory,
they,
yeah.
how would they be incorporated? Be similar to a single family?
It's really up to the town in terms of how you could evaluate it. If you wanted to, we could update this table to include an accessory apartment. And we could essentially adjust the numbers
it's a
to
good
find
idea.
something that was
Yeah.
a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, really, on my end, I can do it on a per person. You know, we can apply a specific gallon per person if it's anything smaller than a single family residence, and then you could use that number to identify, all right, for an accessory apartment with 1 bedroom, we'll assume it's one person or 1.5 people, something.
I think
Because
that's a good,
otherwise-
I'd rather
it
not
would-
get into the people, I'd rather
No.
get into the bedroom.
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
but right now,
Yep.
One bedroom.
these wouldn't apply.
Right.
If this was adopted as is, you know,
Right.
adding on accessory
Right.
dwelling unit or accessory apartment.
apartments, yeah.
So I think maybe
That's a
that
good
needs to be
recommendation.
taken,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
just add it to the table.
And I'm sure there's gonna be things that come up that aren't on the table that will have to be, we'll just have to grab data, that historical data from somewhere to show what it is.
Yep, absolutely.
And there's really 2 references that could be added on the town side that would sort of be an umbrella for everything.
yeah.
You know, in terms of DES being the first one, and then Metcalf and Eddie were just sort of like a big picture wastewater reference that's tried and true across the country. So those would be nice to have in there also, so that if you know you got to a point and you're really going back and forth with someone, you could say, hey, look, these are 2 different resources that are, you know, we have nothing to do with, and that's what they say as well.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't like using DES's numbers
Mhm.
for sewer, water and sewer, because they're extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
They're way, so, you know, a 3-bedroom house would be at 450 gallons, you're at 183.
Yep.
So do whatever you want, I would prefer not to use that.
And what I meant more was from just if there was just a reference, those tables are much more detailed. They get into motels versus hotels versus detached hotels. So if there's something that isn't covered under this table and you find yourselves in some sort of predicament where you're trying to figure out where you could go, that's another place that you could reference.
The ultimate goal was to try and assess a fair fee. So whenever we can try and use historical data, we will, and that's the goal.
And then this becomes a regulation for the town, correct? That's what goes through town
Goes
council.
under-
It's not an ordinance. It's a,
It goes in the ordinance, the
Yes,
water and
the
sewer.
water and sewer
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yep, I think 14, is it chapter 14? I can't remember off the top of my
I
head.
think it is.
so
Yeah.
do people go to the ZBA then for a variance?
No, they
No,
go
it's
to,
really
they
the
go
municipal
to,
code,
yes,
Yeah,
they go,
municipal code.
so it's
Yep.
not something that they
correct. Technically
could
land
get a
use.
variance for. I would say simple is good, but also try to make it as comprehensive so you can think about the unintended consequences of these other types of housing developments that are more than likely gonna be coming along for the town.
And like I said, how that has been handled is we've asked for historical data when they haven't fit the box. And then we've come to an agreement. And that's when I work with the planning department
Yep.
on that piece.
Okay, so, does anybody else have any questions, comments? Do we really need to do anything about this? This is really,
No, it's town council.
this is a town council thing, right?
I think they just, if you wanna have a recommendation, you can give it, say if you agree with, you know, you think this is a comprehensive or a rational approach. That's what, the ordinance states that it comes to the plan board for recommendations, so town council is looking for a recommendation.
So we should
Correct me
make a
if I'm wrong,
recommendation.
Scott, at the last
I
time.
think they were at least looking for if you see holes in it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the town council liked it, and they liked it for 2 reasons. One, the funding now just goes into the department. We don't have to separate it into all these little boxes. And 2, you know, the impact fee was $1,000. So where does that come from? You know, that's just some made up number, right? So these are at least numbers, you can go back, you can check, you can audit, right? And with a simple calculation, every year you can update it, you know. So it's at least a methodology, and I think there's always going to be exceptions to this stuff, you know, like, well, what about this, what about that? But this is at least I think, a very clear method, and, you know, as a taxpayer in Newmarket, I don't want to be subsidizing new development, you know, this is the real cost. This is, you know, what it really costs to do it, and so the people who are doing it should pay it.
That prompts a question I was going to ask, what the expected lifespan or continual review of the fees are. Is it to be looked at more often than every 10, 20 years? Or is it?
We should be looking at it every few years, and it should be pretty simple, because it's based on what your infrastructure, because it's all based on what you have for infrastructure. I don't see a lot of changes happening to what we have for the value of our infrastructure within the next year or two. So every couple years we should be looking at it.
And the big differentiator is when you take on new debt and old debt expires. Because that's where there's sort of a credit that's given to a future, somebody that's potentially going to tie in, so that they're not double paying for a piece of infrastructure that they're already going to be paying for when they're paying rates. That's really the big one. Again, like I said before, a lot of communities don't look at this at all. It's just, oh, that was there. We don't really know why. And there's communities that update it every year or two. I think it's up to the town to determine, is this a 5-year schedule? Is this I think 10 is probably too long. But I think somewhere in the 2 to 5 is probably a reasonable timeline to take another look at it.
Is there any difference between someone who gets hooked up as a new build, or let's say we have to extend the infrastructure out to existing houses because something happens, their water's no longer, you know, we have some salt water intrusion I know going on. So is there any difference, or is it the same price for new construction?
It's the same because they're buying into the system.
Right,
They weren't on the system, so they're buying into the system. So it would be the same.
The other big difference is there's a lot of unbuilt lots in Newmarket that are exempt from impact fees because they weren't, you know, approved as a subdivision subject to impact fees. Now this will apply across the board to everyone, where before impact, only certain lots were assessed impact fees.
I think you guys made a very good point that we need to add some verbiage if they do not fit the box, that we need to find historical data or work with whoever it is to come up with an acceptable flow data.
Yeah, mechanism.
I think that is a great idea.
And that's probably one of the biggest advantages of that system development charge, is that it's not under local land use. Like it's really not for planning and development purposes. It's really separating the utility, the water and sewer utility side from the development side, which as you know, as those utilities grow and they become more and more complex, and we ask for them to be more and more self-sufficient, that's where this really becomes important, to separate those two.
And that was the basis of why we pushed this years ago and have continued to support that, to take water and sewer impact fees out of the ordinance, because it really should be exactly as you stated, a utility.
All right, so I think I'll entertain a motion to make a recommendation to the town council that they approve this change.
Are you looking for a motion, or are you looking for a second?
He can't make motions.
No, I can't make motions.
I'm looking for a so moved.
I so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Great.
Thanks.
Great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
excellent.
All right. Next on the agenda is pursuant to RSA 676:4, paragraph D and appendix B, site plans of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire. There will be a public hearing for an application for site plan review requested by owner, town of Newmarket, and applicant Qualtech Wireless, requesting approval to place 3 antennas, 6 RRUs, 3 junction boxes, and 3 power hybrid cables at the 66-foot RAD. The applicant will require a 5 by 7 foot lease area for ground equipment. The property is located on real property with an address of 0 Great Hill, which is the water tower, tax map U5, lot 57T, within the R2 zoning district.
Megan, are you there? Okay, we on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, and yes, we can. Before we start, Bart, I believe we would need to accept the application as complete.
That's correct.
So, anybody want to make a motion to?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made, second. Any discussion? Does anybody have any issues with the thought that the application is complete? No. All right, all those in favor of accepting the application, say aye.
Aye.
Yes,
All those-
complete.
Yes.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So now we will open up the public hearing and
There's a Megan.
Megan?
Yeah.
Good evening, please.
Yes.
The floor is yours to make a presentation.
Okay, well, I didn't really have a presentation.
Oh.
I gave you the construction drawing, and if you have any questions
About
about this, you can definitely ask me. But it's a simple co-location on the water tank at 0 Great Hill, and we are proposing to place 3 antennas, 6 ROUs, 3 conjunction boxes, and 3 fiber cables and 3 hybrid cables on the water tank. So it's at the 66-foot rad, and it should, this is a pretty standard installation. So if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. But that's basically our installation. I can share my screen if you wanted to go through the CDs. I believe I sent them to you if you wanted to review.
No, I don't think that's necessary at this point. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. So there's a utility pole outside of the fence, and it looks like there's a underground utility proposed to go to that pole. Is there an easement required for that? I mean, if
Town
there's,
owns just the above.
Yeah. I think as existing,
is the town
Yes, that's existing.
town's the owner.
of all that, the parcel around this
I believe so.
recently?
I believe so, yeah.
It shows us a separate tax. And we
Yeah.
have Bart, look at that.
I can look it up.
You don't think that's the case? Being Doucette survey?
No, I'm not being gentle, no. Never of the plan.
Yeah, my understanding is that all the area around the water tank is all owned by the town.
Should Sean to say,
Yeah.
they answered that question probably.
It's a good
Maps
question.
Online disagrees.
Can you hand me Jane's packet? Thanks.
While we're looking that up, any other questions?
That's mostly it for me.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Were you looking for a survey, Jeff?
Well, I saw that the feeling was that there wasn't a need for a survey because everything was inside the fence. And so it seemed to me like there was an assumption that the fence was the...
Yeah, so the way the tax map is, it's box, the water tower is within its own parcel, and then it's surrounded by another parcel, a larger parcel, and I believe it's the water districts, or the town's land. So,
Yeah, there's two parcels.
yeah,
One-
there's one within one.
Because the way the tax map is drawn, there are existing buildings on that larger 14-acre parcel surrounding that.
You don't know the answer to that, do you, Megan?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Can you say that one more time?
So there's an underground electric going to an existing telephone pole, or, the question is, do you need an easement for that? That's outside of the fencing of the water tower, or the water tank?
No, we shouldn't need that. That's existing. And I believe the other carriers, I believe, do the same exact power source.
Are you proposing to bring in new power from that pole, or is you just showing it on the site plan?
We will need power going up to the antennas, and we're going to use the existing lines that will be wrapped around the water tank and over to the pole, and then another one over to the meter. And we're going to have a meter there as
It's
well.
the fiber line.
Yeah.
It's the fiber line is what my question
Yes, I'm sorry, the fire line. Yep.
So on site plan A1, the fiber line coming from the utility pole E is a new line?
Yes.
All right, and then, so Jeff's question is, do you have an easement for that line?
Do you need?
Or do you need one? Well, if you don't need one, why not?
I actually don't know the answer to that, but I can certainly get back to the board after this call.
So that could just be a condition.
Because
You were-
I know that in 2010-ish, the town got easements
Right,
across someone else's property. And there's
get
a-
out there.
to get out.
To get out there.
That's correct.
And there is a existing access easement
Right.
to the water tower parcel,
Which is shown here.
Right,
right?
that's true.
Yeah. Which is why I was curious if the pole is on the abutter's property, I would believe you need probably an easement from
Right.
that abutter.
It looks like there is some equipment, right? Verizon has a propane tank that's outside the fenced area as well. So I don't know if that,
And a transformer on the opposite.
Right, that's kind of where when I saw that there wasn't a need for a survey because the improvements were inside the fence, I was like, well, some are outside the fence.
Right.
The property is, if you look at surveys from the era, the property is a rectangle, not the shape of the fence. So I don't know if the fence is all within the town property or how that works up there.
Well, my opinion, just to expedite things, is I think we can make a condition of approval that an easement is obtained if necessary, and they need to, if it's not necessary, they need to show to Bart why it's not necessary to the satisfaction of Bart.
Yeah, my intention of the question is mostly just the protection of a butter,
Understood.
not
And
to.
that's a valid question. Valid question. Does anybody have any other questions? How about a motion?
Can you have Bart, did he just
He
leave?
went- I
Oh.
asked him to go see if he could
Okay,
put something up on the tax maps real quickly.
so just to go through the planners,
Oh.
that should be in the public
Yeah.
record, and you haven't opened the public comments. Open or close public comments?
Oh,
Wanna do that before we go into this?
yeah, sure. Does anybody out there have any comments on this? I guess, is there anybody online? Anybody online? Can they join online, or they have to be here in person? Just the applicants online?
Yeah, no one else is on.
All right, I will close the public comment period then.
I'm gonna go through these conditions.
Yes, please.
So town planner has gone through some recommended conditions if we are going to move this forward to a vote for approval. Precedent conditions, this would be completed prior to issuance of a building permit, as the applicant shall enter into, can the applicant hear me?
I can. If you can just speak up just a snippet, I can hear you.
So these are precedent conditions. The applicant shall enter into construction inspection agreement with the town to ensure the site plan is built in accordance with the approved plan. The applicant shall reimburse the town for all associated inspection and observation costs. Number 2, the following modifications to the plan. Add all applicable variances and waivers granted onto the plan. Update the site plan showing the existing height of the water tower and the proposed height to the structure. And C, update the site plan showing decommission plan. 3, obtain final sign-off from Underwood engineers on all issues identified during their review. That's the town engineer. 4, submit all documentation of all relevant local, state, and federal approvals. We would add to that confirmation all easements for work outside the fenced area shown on sheet A1 have been obtained and recorded. And subsequent conditions, the following items shall be met prior to commencement of any ground disturbance. All precedent conditions are met. A pre-construction meeting between town staff and its consultant engineers has occurred, and the limits of clearing have been established and approved by the town. Do you have any questions on those?
I don't. We have gone through the lease, the building permit, the structural analysis, everything from the engineering firm. Everything that you have said, we have gone through, making sure that this is going to be an easy build, and we've checked all those boxes for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Bart, on your recommendations for conditions of approval, on subsequent conditions, item C, did you mean, was there any D? You have semicolon and, but nothing after.
Oh,
it.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've just read those into the record.
What did you find out? Bart?
Was John Halseran?
Harker Road?
Hooker Road?
Oh,
That's his property?
Yeah.
yeah. So an easement would be required.
So an easement would be required.
If the pole's off town property.
Right,
Correct.
Which is
yeah.
unknown without a.
Right. The
Right.
survey.
right. So that gets us back to the same thing, same
You
place
get
basically.
confirmation.
The easement if required, right? And, other than that, I'm okay with it. With the conditions you laid down.
So you want a motion?
Sure.
So I would like to make a motion to accept the site plan
To approve the
requested,
approval.
to approve the site plan, sorry, requested by the town of Newmarket and Qualtech Wireless to request approval to place 3 antennas, 6 RRUs, 3 junction boxes, and 3 power hybrid cables at the 66-foot rad. The applicant will require the lease of a 5x7 area for the ground equipment. This property is located on real property with the address of 0 Great Hill, which is considered the water tower, tax map U5, lot 57T, within the R2 zoning district, subject to the conditions precedent and conditions subsequent as discussed and recommended by the town planner.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So that includes the,
Including the confirmation, the one we added, about the easements.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, good luck.
Okay, thank you so much. I will follow up about that easement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is pursuant to RSA 676:4 LD in Appendix A, subdivisions of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, there will be a public hearing for an application for a boundary line adjustment requested by Tina Russell of 19 Packers Falls Road, tax map U1, lot 3 in the R2 zoning district, and Philip and Laura Lavoy of 21 Packers Falls Road, tax map U1, lot 4 in the R2 zoning district. Proposed application seeks to adjust the lot line between the two properties by conveying 5,834 square feet from map U1, lot 3 to map U1,
-4.
lot 4.
Yep.
Thank you. I see the applicants are here.
Do you want to come up, Tina?
Chairman, I just want to disclose my parents are in a butter to one of these properties, but I have no financial interest in this application or these properties.
Okay, thank you.
So I think before
So-
Mr. Russell, plan to accept the application.
Oh,
It's
yep.
complete.
Let me get my package. All right, is everybody okay with accepting the application as being complete? I don't hear anybody saying no, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the application as complete.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the application, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passed unanimously. All right, so now we'll open up the public hearing, and I see Ms. Tina Russell here. So my understanding, Tina, is that this will actually make one of the lots more conforming,
Yes,
correct?
I'll make theirs more conforming and mine will stay conforming.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Did the planner discuss the waiver needed?
It's just the, things the plan size.
So can we just wait?
Yeah.
We don't need that from the applicant.
No, I think,
No, we can waive that.
yeah, I think we're gonna deal with that next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, if nobody has any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Public hearing?
Close
Oh.
public hearing, yeah.
Close the public hearing. Anybody else have
Cool.
anything to say? Any
Yeah.
butters, anything? No? All right, I will close the public comment period at 7:53 or so. Is there a motion now?
Well, I'll make a motion to waive section 408, the scale from the site plan or subdivision requirements.
Okay, any discussion on that? Is there a second? On the waiver?
What's that away?
The scale,
Scale,
Scale.
size of the plan.
size of the plan.
Okay. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes for the waiver, to grant the waiver. Now, is there a motion on the plan itself?
Can Bart just go over his recommendations?
Yep, so,
Your recommendation.
yeah, so the first recommendation, besides the waivers, is the draft deed. So basically, this is to determine that everything is written correctly and the parcel, so that is being conveyed is conveyed to the Lavoies. So it's just basically ensuring that the language and the intention is met. So basically, a draft of that deed, new deed, would come to our office, and once we sign off on it, then we'll have chair endorse the plan, and then it'd be recorded at the registry of deeds. And then the next one is a certificate of documentation, surveyor certificate. So basically, a monument certificate. So we want to make sure that the land is your new boundaries are properly delineated. So this is basically your land surveyor saying, yes, these are properly laid at this location. So, and then that is,
And that's required by state law, is that correct? Is that not, that's required by state law, isn't it?
It's required to be monumented.
Yeah.
To be
yeah,
monumented.
so this is a certificate.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
Certificates are not always required.
You're right.
Yep.
So we just want to make sure that the boundary is where the boundary is, because we all know that we run into trouble.
Well, it looks like he's setting several markers.
He's proposing.
Yes.
Yep.
Proposing to.
But then we have documentation saying
That's great.
these are certified and set.
Yep.
So those are my recommendations.
And then the last one was the deed needs to be recorded, obviously.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
Yep.
standard, but it's just,
Yeah.
we review it before recording.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, thank you. All right, now is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the lot line adjustment, boundary line adjustment between Tina Russell of 19 Pax Falls Road, tax map U1, lot 3 in the R2 zoning district, and Philip and Laura Lavoie of 21 Pax Falls Road, tax map U1, lot 4, also in the R2 zoning district, to adjust the lot between the two properties by conveying 5,834 square feet from map U1, lot 3 to map U1, lot
4.
4. Okay, subject to the recommendations of the town planner in regards to conditions precedent and subsequent.
Is there a second? Motion made, seconded, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Alright, next is pursuant to RSA 676:4, paragraph D and appendix B, site plan of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, there will be a public hearing for an application for site plan review requested by CC Railroad Street, Newmarket LLC, located on real property with an address of 3 Railroad Street, tax map U3, lot 138, within the M2A zone. The proposed application seeks to demolish existing non-conforming buildings and construct a new 8-unit residential building within the current footprint with pertinent infrastructure. Bart, what is your recommendation as to the application?
My recommendation is the application is substantially complete and should be accepted by the planning board.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments relative to Bart's recommendation? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the application as complete.
Make a motion, we accept the application as complete.
Is there a second?
Can we get a copy of the survey?
That's what I was gonna say. There's still not a.
Yeah, we don't have anything on this. other
This
than
one?
the-
Yeah, no, there should be there.
I didn't see it in the packet that was circulated.
There's a whole set of,
Oh, there's a whole set.
whole set of plans.
Still not a, still not a survey.
Well, no, that's part of the discussion that we'll have. So,
you
site
can-
plan,
But you can,
Okay, you can still accept it as complete.
right, but you can still accept it as complete, and there's discussion on the cert, cause, which, Mr. Stebbins will discuss.
Eventually we'll get a lot.
Okay, still waiting, I think, for a
You know,
second.
somebody told me if you put on the manual search.
I put the motion out, so.
Yeah, is there a second?
I'll second.
Made and seconded. All right, any discussion on whether the application is complete? Hearing none, those in favor of accepting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously, and I will open up the public hearing. The applicant is here. Good evening.
Hi,
Please
how are you?
please introduce yourself for the people at home.
I'm Ben Stebbins, and I'm the owner of CC Railroad Street. Mike is going to be joining us via Zoom.
Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sweet. Do you wanna share your screen, with the site plan?
Yes.
Thank you. I think you should be able to. Let me know if you can't.
Okay, hold on one second.
You all set, Mike?
I think so.
Yeah, just wanna zoom in a little more. That'd be good.
1 second. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So our intentions with this project is to take down the current building that's on the site along with a shed that's on the site and build a new 8-unit apartment complex. By doing so, we're reducing the impervious soil on the site roughly 12%. There's some large water issues, stormwater issues with the creek that butts this property. So hopefully that helps a good amount with that. We are requesting 2 waivers. One is the survey. And Mike, I don't know if you want to review the survey, how it's pretty much already been done because of the existing.
Yeah, I can maybe help a little bit on that. The reason for that waiver request would be that we had this whole property surveyed just 2 years ago when I purchased a railroad property in Walter Jr., if you remember, purchased the southerly end. And this was my old, or is my office, and not a lot anymore, but Ben owns it. But we did a lot line revision, and this used to be the lot right here, and then this was the railroad property here. And essentially surveyed, you know, it's not stamped, but it's recorded at the registry, and this plan we made as an existing condition plan references, that recorded plan. So, we don't feel that we need to go out and re-survey this parcel because it's already been surveyed by default, I guess, from the other survey. So that's the reason for that.
Okay, does anybody have any?
Yeah, so I just want to pause right there. So I think a discussion needs to happen right now. How does the planning board feel about that? And will a resurvey need to be required, or is the explanation adequate enough that there's just one line, which is the back row line of the parcel under review? So I think.
Well, I think the issue. I think the issue is when you look at this site plan, you really don't know where the property boundaries are.
Val, I think I heard you, you said you don't know where the property lines are, but that's not true. They're right here. These are the property lines. Right there.
And where on that site plan does it denote that?
They're right here. There's a bearing and distance. There's the other line right there, and some of those bearings and distances are all on that.
I'm on proposed site plan, C101.
Right, so here's the line right there. They're taken from that. I mean, I can add the bearings and distances to this lot plan, but they're just gonna come from that first plan. So they're right there.
Oh, well, okay, but, so you don't, on C101, there's no reference to the recorded plan, or is there? I didn't see anything.
The E101 there is.
Okay.
Yeah, C101,
But we don't sign the existing conditions plan to record them.
Right, no, right, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's where that information is.
Right. Yeah, I would think this information should be on the site plan.
So how do we know where the boundary line is between U3 138A and the railroad?
so it's because these two property lines were surveyed right there, and this is the railroad right of way, right through here. That establishes this property line right there, which goes to that point right there, and then this property line is surveyed all the way down through there. So that's all depicted on this existing conditional plan, which we took and referenced Norway Plains plan, and these are all the reference plans. There's 16 reference plans for this survey, and then these reference documents, which established all this surveying, like I said, from this point here, all the way down to the Cheney property down on the other, the Newmarket industrial park. That whole thing is surveyed all the way down to that.
But not such that bearings and distances could be put on that boundary with the railroad?
I didn't hear that.
Not such that bearings and distances could be put along the boundary with the railroad? Those are the only two lines,
I mean,
looks like.
Like I said,
not that
they're
boundary
depicted
though.
right here, and then they go around because this was the property that was surveyed. These lines are depicted here based on these, when the surveyor did their research, but the only property line that, wasn't actually surveyed because it is this lot line right here. And it's because this parcel right here, which I can't remember the original tax map, but maybe it was 138A and then 138-1 or something like that, and then we did a lot line revision here. So this actual property wasn't part of that survey because it was an out parcel in this overall parcel. So that's the only line right there that is not physically surveyed, but because of these 3 lines being surveyed, it's established right there based on the research.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is it would be very easy for a surveyor to do a survey of this lot, given that you have all these reference plans and a plan that's recorded that already shows the 3 points on the existing condition plan.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it would be that easy based on the difficulty that they had surveying this whole thing for me. But you can, I mean, you probably have a surveyor right there that maybe you can ask, but anytime the railroad property is surveyed, I don't think surveyors establish that as ease. So I think it's difficult. I think there's enough information here that we're establishing this line by the original survey, and then we're not expanding the building outside of the footprint of the building. Here's the footprint here, here's the roof overhang that extends back here right now. So our building is within all of that footprint.
Yeah, I think that's an important part, that we're not moving the building at all closer to the tracks to that line. We're actually probably, Mike, we might be backing it up just a little bit from that lot.
That overhang.
Yeah, because we're removing that overhang.
But you are proposing improvements, the walkway. And you're making an assumption that that line is a straight line to the other point.
Well, no, there's a jog in between even at the
Oh, I do see
southeasterly
that
corner.
jog, right. So the assumption is there's no other jogs along that line.
Right. Right, and I think that came out in the survey, so I got off that, but on those documents that we saw all listed on the other plan, I believe that came out as to where that line is in that all of these reference plans.
I would be much more comfortable with the stamped survey.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know.
I mean, if what you're saying is correct, Mike, if someone has already established it, or you have great confidence in the line, it doesn't seem like it would be a stretch for someone else to establish it.
Or the same person.
Can I ask one more question about that? Is the note number 5 mentions a 49.5 foot easement either side of the baseline?
Which page are you on?
I'm still on
E101.
Existing?
E101. I mentioned this last time that we heard
Yep.
it, so I was kind of
And
curious.
we looked a lot into that. We looked into
Where
all
that
those
falls.
easements. So it's 25 feet from the middle of the track towards our building. We did all of our title insurance and did that, and it all came back clear of the existing building. So, you know, there is the insurance of,
Yeah.
they cleared me.
Yeah.
So that's a note here, but it doesn't show on this plan.
The interesting part about that easement is it's recorded on just one thing back in time, and then it just disappears for a long time, and it never came back as we reviewed all of the previous deeds.
All right, what's the board think? What's everybody think?
I mean, I personally would feel better if there were a survey for not just for the reason that there should be is to confirm the boundaries, but also because the walkway that wraps around the building on the railroad side. I mean, I personally would prefer with a high-speed train there. I don't know if one is proposed, like a fence of some sort, to keep. I don't know who's going to live here. Maybe kids from like wandering off the walkway into the railroad.
Would you be open to making that a condition? So my big thing is we're going for this NH Invest funding. This project's not going to happen without that funding, and we have to have full submittals by a certain date, and we're not going to meet that. So I'm happy to make that a condition to survey the whole lot, and if anything, you know, we can send it to the planning board to review after that. If they have any issues, they can stop at that point, but yeah, we're happy to make it a condition.
Well, I think the issue right now is if we're granting the waiver.
Right.
From a survey?
Yes.
From full plan, we're not talking about plan approval here, but it would be part of. I think what you're asking is it's having the full survey as part of plan approval.
Which is the next discussion after we decide
Yeah.
what's happening with the waiver.
In all the waivers.
Do you want to table this for right now, or?
I think we can vote on the waiver. I'm not,
Right. I agree with that.
I don't think, there's 3 of us here, but have spoken about it. It doesn't prevent the applicant from continuing forward with the application.
Right. Correct.
It's just that now they know they need to get it surveyed.
Then we can talk about his point later. What does everybody think?
I like the idea of I'm also in support of a survey. I think that's, making it a waiver, I think, would be acceptable.
Making it a condition.
Or a
later on.
condition, yes, correct.
So all right, so right now we're just talking about the waiver, so, Patrick would, well, you know what, why don't we just, want to entertain a motion to require a full bond survey?
I'll make a motion to, well, you need
To not grant the waiver.
you need a motion to grant the waiver. I think that's what you
Okay.
need.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to grant the waiver. From stop survey requirements, full boundary survey requirement.
Because we wouldn't make a motion to not grant the waiver, would we?
So, this,
It's whether or not the motion is going
in the
to pass.
affirmative, and then, yeah, okay, so there's a motion on the table to grant the waiver.
Is there a second?
And then, so just so I'm clear, right, so we would grant the waiver, but then it would be a condition.
No.
You're
No.
voting on the waiver?
You're voting on whether we're waiving a requirement for a survey. Well, that's the motion, it hasn't been seconded.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. So to answer your question now, no, this is just whether we're gonna grant a waiver of not requiring a survey,
Okay.
right? The motion is to grant the waiver. If you don't support that, you vote no on the motion.
Mhm.
If you support it, you vote yes.
Maybe should be a roll call vote.
So you're opening this for discussion? The motion?
Yes, it's open for discussion. Anybody have any questions, comments?
Well, just to restate, I would not support the motion because I do believe that a survey of the property should be required with site plan approval.
Anybody else have anything to add to that? Okay, so I think, Bart is right, we should do a roll call vote on this. Patrick?
I'm gonna say no.
Jeff?
No.
Val?
No?
No.
No.
Yes. I say no, so the motion fails 6-1, so the waiver, we do not support the waiver.
I can do that, right?
Mhm.
Just wanna make sure. Good.
Were there any other waivers?
There was one more waiver. It's for utilities underground.
Yeah, so the proposed electric is above ground. I do have a question, Ben.
Yep.
What kind of heating? Is it gonna be
It's
heat
mini
pumps?
splits throughout.
Splits, okay.
Yep. Our goal, depending, would possibly put solar on top in the future to help offset some of those costs, but yeah.
Thank you.
So is the intention to use the existing pole, basically the same?
Correct, to
location?
come in the same, and also come in the same location of the building. the new building.
And what's the grounds for requesting for the waiver?
Mike, do you want to go over your grounds for that, or I can pull it up?
Yeah, my grounds are that, it already exists today, right there, into the property. The biggest problem is there's a utility that cuts across here that feeds, Railroad Street, and so, would we be required to go up into the DOT right away and then put everything underground? It doesn't make sense, so it doesn't really make sense to put this one piece underground if it's already cutting across the property here, from Route 152 coming down. So, I don't think it diminishes any, or it's injurious to anybody to leave it as it is. It's been that way forever, and it certainly doesn't, public safety hazard or anything like that. I think it's, the waivers, I think it could be approved.
Do we have the waiver in writing?
Mike, yeah, I believe you did submit it late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you just want to pop that up on the screen?
Yep. Is it showing up or?
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I basically said that, I don't think it's not detrimental to any health, safety or general welfare. It's not dangerous to any other party. And the intent of the regulation is to enhance the, proposed development, but, I don't know that it's gonna detract from anything. Everything is overhead now for all the buildings down there. Like I said, it's just a weird circumstance where that, utilities don't go down the town right away. They cut across the property, so, I'm not sure how we put all those on the ground. Well, I think it meets the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Comments, concerns?
I guess my comment would be relative to, are we looking at this area as future urban infill, which is obviously what the applicant here has a, nice proposal before us to take, the building as it exists now and add additional housing into this area of town. It's all walkable, has connectivity. We haven't talked about parking yet, but we've got the municipal parking lot there. I guess I'm looking at this from a future perspective, that this is, given the land mass here, the connectivity to, to Main Street, or, South Main, and the parking, that I think we're gonna see a lot of urban infill within this area. And do we set this precedent that we're not going to have utilities underground?
So I think, to answer your question, a way to look at that or approach it is, if you were to grant the waiver, if it was conditional approval, if that lot were to be developed, the larger lots surrounding the parcel, then underground utilities could go on at that point.
We'd be very off.
Yeah. So the idea is, you're allowing for some relief right now, but with the understanding if this lot's going to be built out, you're putting it underground. So the other lot.
All other.
Yeah, all utilities would go underground.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. What's everybody's thoughts on that? I think that's a good idea, personally.
No objection.
Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to grant the waiver then.
It's from section,
From
3.10, utilities.
3.10 for utilities, leaving the electric overhead, the utilities overhead.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, I think we're done with the waivers. Michael, you want to? Is the condition part?
You can do that if you were to,
If someone comes before us with a site plan for the abutting lot, so it'd be the
that was
burden on,
part of it.
it's gonna be, it's not the burden on this applicant, the
Yeah,
burden
no,
is
no,
on the
understood.
abutter.
Right, understood.
Michael Sievert, do you want to walk us now through the project, or however you want to handle that?
Yeah. So, hold on. Let me put this plan back up. So yeah, so the plans that I'm showing here, are slightly different than the original plans, because we responded, and I don't know if you have the letter, but I sent a note, or a letter back to Bart today, just responding to the staff, report comments. And, so basically we're, like Ben was stating, we're replacing a new building directly in the footprint. And you can see how, if you look, I can switch back to the other plan, but the roof line is dashed in and it's out here, for where that roof is. I don't know if you've been around the back of this building, but there's a big overhang that comes across, and it's almost like a salt box type situation where the roof overhangs quite a bit back here, and I don't know if that was part of the train station back in, several years ago or whatever, but that's being eliminated, and so this building is being actually pulled away from this property line. That's why, there's two doors out of this back, these two garages right here. It's the only units on the end that have garages, and that's why the walkway is coming back to pick up these two doors. So the layout of this, and I think I have the architectural plans here, but these are 3-story, 2 end units right here with 2 garages, and then the living spaces above that on the 2 floors. And then there's the 6 other units which are entered through a main hallway, and then there's 3 on this side and 3 on this side. We're proposing to use this existing entrance, come down in. Right now, this is all gravel through here, and then it goes all the way back. Actually, right here where this tree line is and you can see that depicted here, comes back through here, and then this is an open area that's kind of a gravelly area right now. And so we're proposing to, just pave this area to get access to this property right here, and then remove all of this gravel area, including the building that Ben spoke about that's out here now, and then reclaim all this to, a grass or lawn area. And that's how we're reducing the impervious surface on the overall lot. There's a 4 or 5% decrease in impervious surface on this small lot, and there's, I think, about a 12% decrease on the bigger lot. And that's one thing that was called out in the staff memo under 3.07, the stormwater management plan. And we've added that information right here. This is the reduction on the small lot right there, 5%. And this is the reduction, I guess it's 6%, and then the total is about 12 or 12.5% reduction. So there's no increase in surface water runoff from the proposed development here now, and actually there's a slight decrease. And then there'll be more infiltration, of course, because we're going to reclaim all this to a grass area.
So, Mike, can I just jump in for a question here? Because it's a little confusing.
Yes.
This particular application is only for lot 138A, correct?
Yep.
Okay. There's all these off-site improvements. Are these going to be shown by easements, or are you?
So the easement's already there for this gravel area. So we're just
for all the off-site improvements are already under an easement.
The current easement covers the driveway that comes down where we're going to just be
let me rephrase that. All the off-site improvements that are shown on C 101 and that Mike that you were just going over, is all of that land currently under an easement?
No, there's an access easement to access the property, and
So are you proposing that there will be a recorded easement for all of the land under
Yes, there
this
will be.
development? And then that would be
Yeah,
shown,
so-
okay, so that would be shown on a survey plan with a proposed easement area.
Correct.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, right now, this whole access right here, and then, you know, this gravel access area is covered under an easement. So all of the land we're either using or reclaiming, is under that easement, but it's not specific for, obviously, this new stuff, because it's new. So it's not specific for access to these garages, or specific for access to, these walkways and so forth. But the overall area, the gravel area for access across this parcel to get to this parcel is in place. I don't know, you know, if that explains it, but that's in that other survey plan that we did for this whole other project.
Okay, but the easements will, the proposed easements will be on a plan.
Yes, we will make sure that
Oh.
the new easements are on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm not sure that there's gonna be an actual physical easement as much as just saying that this area that's under this whole easement where the gravel area is, will now be used specifically for this purpose, for parking and access, and then walking and so forth. So there may be an amendment to the written portion of the easement, but there's no physical, you know, bearings that depict an easement. And I'm not sure that that's gonna be the case in the end either. It would just be kind of a blanket easement since Ben or his companies currently own both parcels.
What lot is that other land part of? It's not
So
part of.
that's what this tax map, U4-16, so that's this current office where our engineering office is, and that lot line is right here, goes right through here, and comes across here, down like this, across here. This is where the easement for the construction of the roadway. And like I said, the survey was completed to do a lot line consolidation between this lot right here, this larger lot, excluding this lot, and this small lot, which is depicted here in a dashed line. So prior to Ben's purchase of this property, there was you approved this lot line adjustment that combined this parcel with this larger parcel right here. In addition to, if you remember, there's a chunk right here that the railroad kept, and then all of this larger parcel that goes down here, another 3/4 of an acre, like I said before, goes down to the Chi property. So that was also part of that whole lot line adjustment and consolidation previously, you know, a year and a half ago.
So Mike, on the existing condition plans on E101,
Yep.
the area that comes in, basically the first left off of Railroad Street, that is
Yep.
part of another parcel?
Nope, that's part of this,
Same.
what's now U4-16. It's not part of U3-138,
Right.
which is this little rectangular parcel that's physically being developed, but, so this paved access right here, and then this gravel outline right here is what,
Oh, I see the boundary now, sorry.
Easement
Yep.
for access to this parcel.
Right,
And, you know, they park vehicles on this parcel for the sign, you know, Newland Barricade Company has it's a better part of 30 plus years, and so they've been accessing and parking and delivering and, you know, operating on all of this area right here right now, which we're actually, you know, going to actually incorporate less of that into the actual access. So it's all set up right now where this parcel does have a written access easement over this parcel right here.
Is it kind of basically a nondescript easement saying you have access on it? Or is it defined?
It's nondescript.
Kind of blanket?
Yep. And I think that's kind of what we'll do for the improvements as well, and record that as well.
Because they weren't not on the other lot. It doesn't, the easement is not over the other lot where the existing office building is, right?
It is.
It is.
It's not only over the other lot that was combined with it?
Sorry, the original office building, if you're going back prior to the merge, yes, that's what I was saying. So prior to the merge, it was not. It was on the original railroad property, and then when the lot line, the easement came over to that.
Well, the easement would only burden the parcel as originally.
But we recorded a new one.
Okay.
Because we bought, yeah.
Just like as part of the driveway is on that other parcel.
Yep.
So to maybe continue just a little bit more, I guess that's how the layout of the building is. We propose to access the building here. We propose some bicycle racks for residents here, and then right now there's a dumpster on the office parcel, and then another large dumpster right here, or actually right here at the end of this tree line. For New American, what we're proposing is to just consolidate that into one dumpster location. So that's the reason for this access right here. Really, that's kind of all the improvements that are there. Utility-wise, we don't exactly know where the existing water and sewer are, so we're proposing new water and sewer because of the age of them. And that was one of the other staff recommendations was to update the plans to show the different sizes of the water service coming in. So this will be a fire service that comes in here, the domestic service will come off of that 4-inch fire service. There'll be a shut off for that, and then a shut off at the main. And then I've updated this plan to show that, and then also the construction details to be in compliance with the town of Newmarket's water and sewer regulations, which I'll point out in a minute. And that was one of the requests by the staff.
So
and the other,
we're going to be capping the existing.
And right now, nothing ties into the sewer manhole. This is the end of the sewer line, so there's nothing up the street right here. And then the sewer line, so it's running this way and then it heads down Railroad Street, down through here. The office building ties in right here. This house ties in here, and then we'll propose a new tie-in for this piece right here. And then on the plans, I noted, which was requested by the staff, just to either cap and remove the existing service once it's dug up in time. And that's in the notes that I've edited and added both from the water and the sewer, which is requested by the staff. So those are the underground or the utilities that will be reconstructed to be upgraded for this the new building that's proposed here now. And then, we put a small show the existing, it's fairly well wooded. Again, the existing tree line comes in right here. And I think, what Robbie's trying to do is show that there's a pretty large tree at the end of this tree line that separates these two right here, and this is where I'm cutting through. And then we're adding a couple, trees out here to kind of just screen the new, parking and building there. So you can see what she proposed to add right there. And it's that open area. So from the end of this point right here, it's pretty much open all the way over to, there's some scrub stuff on this big slope up here from the bottom from 152, and then this is pretty well wooded back here. My wall stays back there.
So, Mike, that's not in our package, correct?
It was updated, yeah, great.
I put a plan in, that we did in-house, which was not a real landscape plan, it was not a landscape architect, and then, Robbie and Vicky provided this plan. They were on vacation, so, I had them update this plan, and then we put that in, earlier this week, I believe, so.
Thank you.
It's not a real change from necessarily our plan, it's just, if you look at it, it's actually a little bit nicer, because it's done by a landscape architect and then but I think you should have it.
It's been passed around.
And then again, this is, I can go over this stuff, but I don't know if you really want to, but it's kind of the construction sequencing, construction, erosion control, just the details of signage and handicap accessibility, the bike rack signs. We're talking about adding pervious patio area. And that is for just the pedestrian, for the residents here. This is where that existing building was, we're gonna tear that down and then just kind of put a pervious patio area so that there's a little recreation area that you can come either sit on or grill or congregate there or whatever. And then that other plan is really just the kind of additional utilities, which I talked about before. And then here's the layout. And I don't know if you have this up, I think I see it in the corner there, but like I was saying before, the 2 units here, they have the garages under. This is the back door that I'm trying to access out here. Then there's livable unit, and they're stacked on top of each other. So these are kind of like, I guess, what you might call a townhouse style unit. And then here's the main entrance, and then units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these units are single floor units, where these units are kind of stacked on top of each other. And I don't know if you have a better plan. I think Ben did say that he got a more updated.
Yeah, I printed one out for you.
If you want to move to that, but this is essentially what I want to do.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you own both lots?
It's different LLCs and different ownership, but
All
I
under
have an
you,
interest
okay.
in both.
So, was there any discussion of doing a lot line adjustment so that all of these off-site improvements would be on the subject property?
There wasn't.
So what do you think, Val?
Well, I think we should move it to TRC.
What's the rest of the board? Any thoughts?
We don't have anything to Underwood yet, correct?
Correct.
It sounds from Mike, you've already met with Sean?
No, I haven't met. We didn't do a staff meeting or a TRC meeting. I think we were a little bit tight on getting the information in.
Oh, I'm sorry, when you were referring to.
I haven't met with him and gone over this. I mean, I'm assuming that we're very close, and so we would definitely meet with him and make sure that, he's in agreement with the way we're tying this in. Again, if the sewer line had been moved slightly a little bit one way or another,
Okay.
you know, there's no real problem here. And remember, you know, this line right here between this manhole and that manhole, it looks to me like it's pretty much unused right now.
Okay, oh, all right, no, that, my fault, I misunderstood you. When you were talking about the water and sewer and capping the lines, I had heard that you had met with sewer input from staff, so.
Oh,
my
no.
fault.
What I was referring to, Bart, provided a staff review, and so I was replying to section 3.08 water supply, and he had requested some changes which I've updated on this, and also the 3.09 under the sewer disposal, and I just kind of updated things, mainly in the construction, details, to make sure that we were referencing, that it all gets reflected in accordance with the plan, requirements. And, I mean, I did shot these elevations, there's no problem, getting sewer out here, and, you know, there's no problem with water, or anything like that. So.
Thank you, Mike. So what's the board think? Val suggested we send it to TRC.
That seems valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I got no issue with that. Anybody? So, we'll need to set up a TRC. Might get some volunteers. And when's our next meeting? August?
Ninth.
August 9th. Yeah.
So let,
Alright, so I guess I'd entertain a motion to continue first, and then we'll.
so I make a motion to continue the, application by CC Railroad Street, Newmarket LLC for tax map U3, lot 138A, continued to August, the meeting of August 9th, 2022.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. So let's talk about the TRC. I mean, it should be a fairly quick TRC, because.
Can you have a motion to reconsider? Because it's a public hearing. I don't know if anyone wants to speak.
Oh.
Oh, setting up a TRC?
Nope,
Oh,
it's a public hearing.
Oh, I gotta close the public hearing.
Okay.
No,
I mean-
you gotta open it, and so I would do a motion to reconsider. The motion you just made to continue it.
Oh, you didn't have the public hearing.
Right.
Oh, I see. I see.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion?
Yep.
No, well, we already voted on it.
Right.
So we need a motion to reconsider.
Yeah, reconsider.
Make a motion to reconsider the continuation of the application to August 9th.
Is there a second?
I'll second that again.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright, so now we're back.
Alright, so got the public hearing. Anybody in the public wanna speak relative to this project?
So now, we have it open now, and we can continue it, we don't have to notice it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Is there a second?
To
August 9th, 2022.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Sorry.
Alright, no, that's fine.
No,
Glad
that's
you got it
good.
right.
We were catching on all the other ones.
Man.
Who's that?
Somebody's
You can
gotta-
kick 'em under
somebody's
the
gotta catch
table.
me. Jeez. Alright, so we need a TRC, so, we want 2 members, 3 members, we usually have 3. This is, we get 2. It's something we're gonna do, we need to do during the day.
Yep.
I will, volunteer.
Same.
I'll volunteer. I should have some availability.
Thank you.
Timothy, me, and Val.
Yes.
See if we can set it up as soon as possible.
Yep.
I'd like to get resolved before the next meeting, because I don't think there's a lot.
I'd like to get Underwood's
Technical stuff.
review before
Right.
we meet
And they'll
with
be there
TRC.
too.
I'd like to get their review before we meet with TRC,
They are working on their review.
because then they can have it as well.
Correct.
Yeah. So if we wrap it up, so tonight we'll make
Okay.
a decision. All right,
Can I ask that?
sure.
Well, you mentioned a time frame. I was curious what that is.
It is what it is. I mean, the project's not gonna happen if we don't get the grant money. You just can't physically build a building this small, without getting that type of grant money, which, what it is you have to leave all of the units, if you're under 15 units, at low income, levels of rent. So the max rent we could do is 1,800 for a 2-bedroom, for 5 years while we get that grant money. It's just, yeah, like I said, it's impossible to build something right now with construction costs so little.
Is there a grant deadline, I guess?
There is.
Okay. When is
Yep,
the?
we have to have building permit in hand by, I think it's the end of August.
Building permit in here?
Yep.
Wow, okay. Well, let's hustle.
The other thing, just to note for the town, that they get $10,000 per unit, that is approved. So that'd be $80,000
Oh, as grant money?
as grant money.
Part of the grant?
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty, more reason to get.
Yep,
more-
so we'll get the TRC scheduled.
Yep. Yep.
So this falls under the new workforce housing?
Correct. The NH Invest, $100 million fund that just came out.
So if people can't make the TRC physically, they can set up as a Zoom too.
I will see if we
Just to make, if that happens for people that can't make it, we don't wanna just delay this.
I agree.
Yeah, how soon are you thinking,
Next week.
next week?
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So,
So I'll reach out to all the relevant parties, see what date works.
yeah,
We just got meet noticing requirements, so the day that we can meet it, most early.
Do you want to alternate? Just in
I was gonna say, Jeff,
Yeah.
cause next week is the only week that I will be out of town.
Okay.
I was thinking
So-
either the rest of this week or the following, or the week after.
I was going to offer either way. So if you need an alternate, I can be an alternate, or I can be the person. I can take
Yeah.
Tim's place as
Well,
well.
if
I
it's
might
next-
I might be able to zoom in, but I'm not.
So let me
100%
just
sure.
look at the notice requirements, what needs to be noticed properly, then would be that day.
So if it's next week and you can't make it, then
Yeah.
we'll invite you. That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Perfect. Alrighty, we'll
Great.
try.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Next is pursuant to RSA. Thank you. Pursuant to RSA 676, for the appendix B, site plans of the municipal code of town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, there will be a public hearing for an application for a minor site plan review requested by 11 Chapel Street LLC, requesting approval for the conversion of approved retail space on the first floor of a new barn, parentheses, bike shop, to an apartment. The property is located on real property with an address of 11 Chapel Street, tax map B2 lot 3, within the M2 zoning district. Bart, you.
Yeah, so this is technically a major site plan, not minor, so, just clarify. Based on my recommendation, I think this is all the relevant information. Planning board's seen this before, just in a different format. So there is that question of the boundary survey, but we can get into that. But I think for the purpose of this discussion and stated the application can be accepted as complete.
Does anybody have any questions for Bart relative to the completeness?
Well, so I'm assuming this went to the zoning board because they're asking for a change
Yeah.
from,
Yes.
yes,
So-
and they approved that.
Correct. So they granted variances for the maximum front yard setback, because the proposed new dwelling unit exceeds 10 feet, so that was granted, as well as the land area per dwelling unit. So they're allowed, thank you, Eric. Yep. Perfect, all right. And also, for the land area per dwelling, because it's very small, I think it's 0.19 acres, if I am remembering correctly. So they're allowed for that additional, technically there's only one, so it's a non-conforming lot already. So the zoning board allowed for additional unit to be on there where it's not normally permitted.
So they got the variance on your notes for the density and the setback.
Correct.
Variances on the planner notes.
So the zoning board did approve that.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions relative to the application?
a motion to accept the application as substantially complete.
Motion made, second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have the motion passes unanimously, so now we'll open up the public hearing. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Eric Weinrub with Altus Engineering. Nice to be back before you in person. Bart, welcome to this side of the river. Nice to see you here. Eric Weinrub on Caper, sorry. With 11 Chapel Street LLC. Property, as you know, is on the corner of Chapel and Granite Street. And we were before board after variances were granted to take the barn and make it into a retail bike shop. It was, and I think we went down that road because there was a tenant that really wanted to be in there. I'm not so sure that was really the best use of the property at that time, and I think through the approval process and time delayed, I think that the tenant realized that it wasn't a viable site for retail. Top of the hill, it's not real easy to get to with a bike, not ample parking for retail. So we went back, revisited the site, and proposed to do the conversion of the barn to an apartment. So there's 2 apartments on the site. There is a 3-bedroom unit here, a 2-bedroom here, and then the barn unit. We're proposing to make that into a 2-bedroom apartment. We have no proposed site improvements on the site at this point. We have the existing driveway. We have 3 designated spaces here. This area was set up as pavers for handicap parking when we're going to have access into the barn for the retail use. The only thing that actually, after I submitted, and I realized when I was looking at it, is we have space 1 through 3, so it'll be 1 space on site designated for each use. And then I realized that when I was reviewing it, that the steps for the deck are actually in front of space 3, so we're going to have to flip those over to the side. So that will be really our only site improvements on the entire property. And I don't know if we'll put them on this side or this side over here. That will have to work out with architecture. We're not proposing to change the gravel spaces to pavement or anything else. However, when we did the stormwater management design, the original design, we treated it as gravel, but we recognize that gravel actually over time is really impervious, so our drainage computation is as an impervious surface, so that from calculation standpoint it's impervious, and that we can, if he so chooses down the road, to make that a paved surface or pavers. Going through your BART summary, there are no utility services proposed. Trash recycling will be stored inside the building, and we have no objection to a note indicating that all the present landscaping will be maintained in perpetuity as long as the development is in existence. I know it's been a long evening. I'm going to stop there and open it up for questions and run with it.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions?
Is there any waivers being requested? The applicant, are there any waivers being requested?
So, when I applied, in my mind, it was a minor site plan. I didn't realize until I read the memorandum that it was, the staff memo, that it's major, and I thought actually, because we were in the M2 district, that we didn't need a waivers for parking, because we were within 500 feet of the downtown area where there's public transportation. We have the 3 spaces on site, there's a couple public spaces, and then we're right down on Main Street. And I could be mistaken that we do need a waiver for parking.
Yeah, I'm in the impression that you do need a waiver, but, have you looked at that part?
Yeah, so, I think there's two standards for parking in the M2 district. One's the transit that you referenced, go with that one. It's only a 10% reduction if it's within 500 feet of transit.
Which we are, yeah.
Yep, okay. And
But a
then,
10% reduction is not even one
Yeah.
right.
vehicle.
It's still not a full spot.
And so there's a couple of issues here. One, that, and then two, the other one has to do with their employees are close to the downtown, so it has to do with workers.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so this is residential use.
Correct.
And then the original calculation, which is, I think you said 5 is needed, that's based on an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, I realized that was.
Yep. So it's actually 6.
So
that you
6
need,
are
yeah.
required on site.
Correct.
And we have 3 on site.
Yeah, so I guess,
So
Chair,
we-
if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you explain the flow, how you imagine parking will work? I know you have 3 designated spots right now. As I'm looking at the plan, you may need a waiver for the 3rd spot there because it's within the setback.
Actually, it's not.
It's not?
No, just outside the setback.
Is it? Okay, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I
no.
think he's talking number 1.
Number
I think he's
1
talking number
is
one.
in the setback.
Oh,
Where we're
sorry,
supposed
you're
to
right.
sit
The
is
first
sort
one
of
is
set-
outside the
yeah.
setback. It is an existing space, so I don't know if we need a waiver for that because we're not changing it and it was a space. If it's needed, we
Okay,
have no
so
objection
it's
to that.
existing, we can have that discussion later, but, my original point, flow, how do you imagine parking will work in
So,
addition to those?
in general, I can see only really space 3 as a space that would be with a multi-point turn can back out. It can back up to here, probably pull up and then go out. The other 2 would most likely, unless they're on compact vehicle, will have to back out into the street.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question about this transit. I don't believe we have bus service currently, do we?
We do, we have Coast and Wildcat, Wildcat Transit will be ended in 23.
Okay, because I thought that it ceased coming through town.
No, I think Coast will still have a Coast line very infrequently, but Wildcat Transit, from my understanding, will discontinue in 23.
But for this purpose, it's a moot point because it's 10%.
Right, I just
0.6.
wouldn't even want to be considering it because I
Yeah.
feel like
Right,
it's
but it
not
still
really
exists.
enough.
Still-
Yeah.
At this time
Yeah.
of the application, it still exists with the understanding that it could change.
Yeah.
It is changing. But as we review this, we just gotta, the focus is on the now, in this instance.
Was there thought to update the existing conditions plan to kind of show the improvements
So-
or where the parking's?
Because it had already been on through the approval process, I just submitted the site plan. There actually is a stamped existing conditions plan. That was what I handed Bart as I walked in.
But that's the only reason I say that is because of the little bit of confusion we had about whether or not parking stall 1 was existing, because the existing conditions plan, I believe, is prior to the last round of improvements that you
So
guys did.
you're right, this is the boundary.
Permitted,
That
There's
is,
a few things that aren't,
yes,
bollards and the parking.
you're right, this is the boundary and the existing condition. Those markups are based on our field of observations.
Eric, sorry, can you just go to the, sorry.
Yeah.
So folks at home, can you hear?
Just not used to public hearings.
Use the Zoom, I understand.
So what you're saying is items that were proposed on the previous plan have been
Field
kinda
verified
field
by
verified and changed to
going out,
existing.
not survey
Right.
verified, but standing out there and say, yeah, this was built, that was built, and so forth.
And so the three parking spaces, how many are there currently?
Well, it's not striped, they're there.
Right. It's considered a.
Yeah.
So it's a gravel area where one is currently people park there, is what you're saying, historic use.
Correct.
More or less.
Is the proposed snow storage area behind the 3-bedroom residence?
Yes.
Is that that just all gravel right now?
This area right here is vegetated, and they'll probably put some beyond the spaces as well.
But that's a vegetated area or an
Yeah,
open
this is
area?
all, this area right here is all vegetated.
Vegetated with grass or
Grass,
bushes?
grass and gravel, yeah.
So that potentially could be used for parking.
It could be. We had it actually on an earlier plan, and then we kind of tried to green it up a little bit and not make it as parking intensive.
How many spaces can you get in there?
Legal or?
Legal spaces.
I think we can get one in there. That stair area really chews up a lot of space.
Thank you.
Have you considered relocating the exterior or I'm assuming this second floor deck area in the stairway is for access to the upper level, which is where the proposed apartment is being? Or is this proposed for the first level?
So when it was originally constructed, and as it is today, there's no interior stairs. So when it was set up as a retail, it was there's no interconnection. Part of the improvements will be to add interior stairs. I don't know if it's viable to remove those exterior stairs or not. Could talk about it.
So
If you were out there, it's quite a
Structure.
yes.
So is the proposal to convert the entire barn to another single family?
Yeah.
So you would be finishing off the entire interior?
It's already finished off in there. It needs to be renovated for kitchen and
Yeah, it needs a kitchen and a bathroom and sleeping quarter. Right now it's just a vanilla box.
Go ahead.
So what's the layout of the structure be? Residential up top, storage in the bottom? Or all residential?
So the first two floors, so ground level, residential, second floor, residential. The basement is unfinished. It's
Okay. So there's a
insulated,
okay.
but it's unfinished.
Okay.
And there's a bathroom down there.
Gotcha.
But
Thank
it's a single unit in that
Correct.
building, correct?
That could be
So-
more than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Upstairs and down? No?
I mean, it's pushing it if it's 1,000.
Well, what's the dimension here, Eric, on that plan?
20. But the barn itself is 28 by 30, I think. That was the original structure that we raised that was already 30% falling down. So
That's an 840 square foot, footprint. That's definitely over 1,000.
Yeah, 2 floors makes it 1,700.
Right.
Yeah, the gross footprint maybe is 1,000, but the
Yeah.
living area is double that.
Yeah. 30 by
Right.
So it's 30 by
28?
20?
Oh, 100.
So you're
So
basically
600.
1,200 square feet.
1,200, okay. It looks bigger than that. But, okay.
but
I mean, it's positioned on the property that makes it look,
Right.
Yeah, it's high.
it is high.
And was the variance, there was no limitation on the variance? Because
it was just for
was just
the
the density.
residential use.
Yep, just
Just
for one
density.
more.
Yeah.
No more can be added.
So, Eric, the last time you guys were here, it seems like there was a lot of discussion about the parking on this corner of Chapel and Granite.
Yeah, so we had, there's parking here,
Right.
and when we initially came in and presented it, because the tenants have always historically used that, we initially said, okay, well, those are tenant parking, and there's no way we can actually use those for tenant parking because it is in the public right of way. Anyone can park there, but there really is spaces right there
But they're
in the right of way.
They're for, right, but they're for everybody, right? They're not.
Yeah.
There were some signs there you had to take down or something that.
Yes.
The tenant did that at will,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they were promptly removed.
Those probably conditions of approval too, the last site plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you actually did remove that second floor deck exterior, that stairwell, you would have space to do tandem parking as well as converting the snow storage area to parking, and then move the snow storage
In between
off.
the two
Tenants would
units.
have to, like they do downtown, have to move their cars when it
Or move it,
snows.
push it down here more. And make these two,
Work.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Was it maybe 3 you
Cause
can
then
fit
they
in
give
there?
them 6 on-site
If you remove it?
spaces.
between the buildings, it's really, with a little bit of space, is 22 feet, a little bit more, so I don't,
But if you did
I wouldn't feel comfortable with more than 2 there.
tandem?
You can tandem them though along
I
the
don't
building.
think tandem would, you would be way out here.
No, if tandem backwards. Towards
No,
the-
I was thinking that way.
the slope of those.
And the grade really starts dropping off, so you don't wanna.
So if you tandem them, against the building, how far past the building are you?
Just in general, 40 feet is there.
So you might have to do a small retaining wall to get that.
Yeah, and I think then you're dealing with foundation issues and backfilling up there.
A proposed solution here, if the board were to go in this direction, if the staircase was removed, is one of the parking stalls would be compact.
Do tandem with one compact. Oh, yeah.
Potentially fit 3.
And everyone in town has a little Prius now, right?
Or an F-250.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They won't be renting there.
So just an idea. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that works, Eric, based on your rough sketch, but
I mean, it works two-dimensionally. I
Yes.
think there may be
right.
some challenges, and there could be some slope, and, you know, it's,
Well, you could assign the
parking
parking also.
lots are driveways and parking lots are, you know, for your home, and this is in an apartment, it's pretty much their home because they're detached
Right.
apartments.
So you could assign the parking,
It-
right?
Oh, absolutely.
If we were to waiver 1, and they would have 5, but then
Yep.
they would have a limitation of 5 vehicles on the
I
site.
mean,
Correct.
I would rather see us not do a tandem and have 2 spaces there than try to really chew up all the green space on the property.
True.
And it's deep enough where it says where the words snow storage are.
Then
Like
we
it's
Yeah,
got-
that
moved.
area, it's
Where are
tight.
we gonna put
You would be into
snow?
this a little bit.
Well, the snow storage would move to the back.
No,
Correct.
I just mean if a car would.
Yeah,
What
would
the
it come
concept
fit
is-
stick out?
Oh.
This box here.
A compact car.
Yeah, so that's where the compact.
That's the compact.
That's the 250.
It's probably the least. Have to have compact.
Well, it's easy, then they could at least back out to pull out,
Yep.
instead of backing all the way out onto Granite. They would be able to turn around there, into the access, drive.
Yeah. And, you know, the other side is that, you know, we do have these spaces here, there's spaces down below, but during a snowstorm,
Mm-hmm.
you know, everyone's gonna just jam their cars in there and then deal with it when the snow removal, just so that they're off the street.
Yeah, I mean, that happens everywhere now, right, with snow
Exactly.
situation, I mean, I like the idea of trying to get a couple more spots in there if you can fit them.
There is overnight parking downtown in
No.
the summer.
No.
Oh, in the summer?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Do we
think
have any thoughts?
I was saying that the snow storage would just have to be relocated.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
they have a note on here already if they're.
Yeah.
We have snow
You
storage
take it
here,
off
we have the
site if
note,
they have
it
to.
gets removed.
You have to,
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember that, yeah.
Jeff, can I, or Eric, can I interject?
Absolutely.
I do need to leave for work, so I'm gonna excuse myself at this point.
Great.
I think we still need a quorum, so no issues
Yep,
with that, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. I was
Thanks a lot.
hoping we could make it all
Yeah.
in, but things drag on, so.
Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Can you open the public comment? too?
All right, does anybody from the public have any comment?
There was a person here, and I think they left because of how long the meeting's gone on. Remember, she came up at the beginning and said she was here for 11 Chapel Street.
That's my neighbor, Barbara.
Okay.
She was just wondering about the bike shop and why that didn't go through, and so I explained to her.
and she was like, oh, okay. Just wondering.
Good point.
All right, so we're gonna try to get some more parking on site.
No. So what's up? Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's two options. One, you could close public hearing and be a conditional approval, or two, continue it to the next meeting, have Eric work out the dimensions, see how it would work, if that's an option, and just continue to the August 9th meeting. And also, I just want to, for just reference, this is also special. Oh no, that was the last meeting. Never mind. This is normal. Sorry, I'm mixing them.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I mean, I would like to see it, kind of the design of the thoughts put forward here on paper.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah, I would like to see the maximum amount of parking on the property that can be achieved, because there is a parking issue in this neighborhood that's clearly been identified, I feel like, and I don't think pushing more cars for people who live here onto the street is a good option. People already complain about it, so
Yeah, I agree with you.
I feel like the best solution would be for you guys to get the most cars you can on this, and I don't think we can see that today.
Right. So that's a good point. Does anybody else have any other concerns? Because I think I'm hearing what we want to do is continue, but I want to give these guys the opportunity, to tell them what we're looking for.
Yeah. I got a question. Just pull the board, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Is the board comfortable with compact cars stalls?
With what?
Compact car stalls. So that would be a waiver from the dimensional size.
Can I ask how that works on private property?
That's a good question.
On a site?
Thank you.
Site
It
plan
would be
review.
on the site plan.
I mean, I believe
Right,
it's
but
a,
How do you
it's a
enforce it?
standard.
Right.
But
It
it,
would
It's a
be,
standard though.
right, so what exactly my question, so if it's assigned parking and, you know, I guess you move it around depending on what person's there, but if everyone has large vehicles, let's hope that that's
I
not the
understand.
case.
Hopefully that doesn't, but then it's just. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you don't go in that direction, and then I know it's difficult in practice to enforce, but I'm just saying if you don't have enough room, the idea is that the stalls will be closer than normal.
We could require a sign,
Yeah.
compact car only or something.
So what is your compact?
My idea is that if the standard is a 20 by 10 by 19, that there's some relief, because you have to have, because on your site plan right now, what size are your
9 by 18.
9 by 18. So if you need to go a little smaller, that's all I'm trying to ask the board, if they're comfortable going smaller size.
I think he's asking what size you
So
I do whoever can fit. So what works for this site?
So what I was gonna suggest, because it's gravel,
Mm-hmm.
no one, it's not gonna be striped, is that I will make this area as big as I feel comfortable. And up to, you know, a foot or two from here, so this space might be a little bit smaller than that space. And I'll just
And we
dimension
waive the
it
dimension.
and go there and not,
I'll look into it.
I don't know if I'm calling it compact parking or not, I'm just calling it, that's a space.
I'll look into it.
I mean, I just, as Bart, I mean, I think it's a great idea, but we need
So-
to find out whether we can waive the
Yeah.
dimension or whether it's in the zone.
Yeah, it could, as you mentioned, this is a dimensional. So I'll just confirm
Okay.
Yeah.
what the path is, and then try to do both.
And if
We'll
the
try to give
spots
you as
aren't
much.
marked, I mean, I don't know how that works anyway, right? If they're not gonna line them.
Right.
I mean, it's really, people are just gonna park where they can park.
In reality, yes, but in the site plan, it needs to be shown.
Yeah.
Like you have a standard parking stall size.
I think we can, at this point, entertain a motion to continue
Yeah.
the next meeting with the expectation that the applicant update the plan to try to add at least 2 more additional parking spots. Is that,
Well, they then you're already granting him a waiver.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
He should
well,
be,
Like
he
he's
should be
updated
showing
plan
plan
showing
that
additional
it's going
parking.
to, you know, because I'm assuming you're gonna still request a waiver.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he's concerned that we're not gonna grant the waiver, he should be showing 6
Yeah.
spots.
right, good point,
With that.
good point. So what's everybody's thoughts?
Yeah, I think we definitely,
Try to show 6? We need to try to show 6.
well, I think it's up to the applicant, he's rolling
Or,
the dice.
yeah, okay.
So I guess to clarify, the plan board's wish is to put as much parking on there as possible. And ideally 6. If you need relief, then request relief, or iterate your relief.
And you'll clarify the process.
I'll contact you. Yep. Yep. Process, if you need zoning relief or dimensional reduction, I'll find that out.
Back to zoning board.
Yes. So I'll clarify the path.
Okay. When is the next submission? August 8th.
So the plan board is August 9th, so 3 weeks prior. Back in that, so I'm gonna say a couple weeks.
Okay.
Since this is a resubmission, we can actually do 14 days.
Okay.
So 14 days prior to August 9th. 26th, so? Yep, 26th July.
So 2 weeks.
Please.
You're not thinking of doing a waiver without having some question, right?
No.
Anything, all the information in front of the board, then act on.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, did you give the applicant a copy of your recommendations?
Yep.
Okay, great, so I'm sure you'll incorporate all those.
Yes.
Alright, so I'll entertain a motion to continue to August 9th.
So move, second? Second?
Motion's made, seconded, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We'll see you in a month.
Okay, thank you
Good
for
luck.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty. Next is pursuant to RSA 676:4(2), paragraph B, C, and 202 design review of appendix B, site plans for municipal code of Newmarket, New Hampshire. There will be a public hearing for an application for design review requested by Spencer Montgomery, located on real property with an address of 25 Beach Street Extension, tax map U3, lot 148 and 149-1 within the M2 zoning district. Proposal is for a small-scale winery, tasting room, and restaurant space. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. Yourself?
I don't see samples.
They're outside the parking lot.
Yes.
Would you guys please introduce yourselves for the...
Yes, I'm Spencer Montgomery and my wife Amanda Parks. We are first-time homeowners in Newmarket right here. We're actually right outside this window, 25 Beach Street Extension. We're pretty excited to finally own a home together and hopefully a business. I am an avid home winemaker. About once a year I get a rental U-Haul truck and I drive out to Seneca Lake and the Finger Lakes and work with a grower out there, a grape grower. He hands me some shears and he tells me what rows I can pick from, and I harvest grapes and I bring them back home and process them. I crush them and ferment them and press them. I studied science in college, and we both work in the restaurant industry. I work as a sommelier at Black Trumpet Bistro in Portsmouth. Amanda works across the bridge in Kittery at Festina Lente, a small seat Italian restaurant. So we have a lot of restaurant experience, and a lot of wine knowledge and passion for the industry. And so we live upstairs. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath where we live right here, and plan to continue to live there. We're not going anywhere. We're excited to be part of town here, and we want to turn our 2-bay commercial zone garage into a winery / restaurant wine bar. 2 separate LLCs will be formed, and 2 separate businesses in sectioned off areas of the garage. The entire 2-bay garage is approximately 1,500 square feet for both sides, so the winery space would be a little smaller than the wine bar / restaurant space. We do have work to do. If this were approved, to kind of get it up to par, we would need to put in a ADA accessible bathroom. We would put in some kitchen space kind of behind the bar. We're kind of just initially thinking like not going too crazy with the kitchen, like no hood vent systems or anything. We'd use kind of hot plate
stairs, not to need all the hood vents right away. And Amanda's a really amazing cook too, so we would do the food there. And the seating area, I know this is a pretty rough drawing, but we're just kind of getting going here. But the seating area would be approximately 500 square feet inside is what we're allotting to seating. We're not sure quite what the capacity would equate to knowing that, but yeah, we're just kind of getting going. We're excited to be here and be part of the town and the process, and I'm sure we have lots to learn and hear from you guys, but we're hopeful and excited to do this.
And you're going to actually make wine as well?
Yes.
And that's like in your basement or something?
The garage, yeah.
Okay.
It's on a
But it's
concrete
not in
slab.
this structure.
Right there.
Yes,
Um,
right there.
So yeah, the prospective
Oh,
winery
the winery
space.
space, I was thinking that was where you was just selling wine. Okay, so that's where you're making.
Yeah, so we would need all the proper permitting, federal licensing, state licensing. So all of that would have to be prerequisite to us doing this, and obviously
Right.
an okay from the board and all of that and our neighbors. But yeah, so we'd be fermenting and making wine and storing. We'd have case goods storage and tax paid storage, from which the wine bar would pull inventory from the tax paid. Once it's federally, the taxes are paid to the feds and the state. We would put in a bathroom. So it's gonna take us a little bit of time. We just bought a house, so we're mustering up all we can to do this, and it's gonna be kind of piece by piece. So we won't be able to jump right into this. But what we hope to do is get permission from our neighbors and the board, and at least get our federal licensing started, because that's about a 2-month process, and they'll send an agent out to look at the space and make sure it's all up to code. And then state licensing after that, which is a lot easier once you get federally licensed to make alcohol. But yeah, so it would be right in the garage there. And one of the garage doors on the prospective restaurant space, right now it's a sliding garage door. We propose to kind of turn that into a normal entryway and get rid of the garage door. That makes a lot more sense for people coming in and out of the wine bar.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Question for Bob, will this fall under just minor site plan review?
It depends because of the parking. So we have to talk about that. So if I may, so parking, they don't have any parking. So there was a conversation on, well, is there any way, the town lot can be co-used? So, can you explain maybe the hours of operation?
Yeah, it would be evenings, much like the restaurants that we work in currently. It would be probably after 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to close would be the general hours that we're considering.
Perhaps weekends.
And perhaps weekends. Obviously not in any shared time as when church is open, because they're going to need that lot. And same with town hours. I know you guys need this lot, but if there's any potential to have our customers use the lot after town hall is closed and the church is not in session, that would be kind of what we're sort of hoping for.
Have you had any discussions with the town about that yet?
I had preliminary discussions with the town manager, and he's open to the idea.
So how many parking spaces on your property?
We have
We kind of have like a long,
It's a long-
straight drive-through. Yeah, so
yeah.
you could maybe fit two. It really wouldn't make sense for beyond our residential
states for
use.
residential.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, so there'll probably be a waiver there. Town shared use with the town. So I think this is more impactful. So I think it would require my major site plan eventually. And plus the use is dual use. This would be actually mixed commercial use, restaurant and in a winery. So I'll look into it more further in detail, but my initial thoughts it would be major.
So in this lot here differs from other municipal parking because it's designated such?
Yeah.
Meaning this lot?
Yeah, as opposed to a parking spot on the side of Main Street downtown.
Correct.
It's just because it's designated for town use and Yeah, other
It's
uses
public.
as well.
It's public parking.
It's
Public, yeah.
for
So
any
Catholic
use.
Church also uses it. It's a
You,
weird
you
ownership.
can
but
park
yeah.
over there.
Catholic
Yeah.
Church
That'll
owns
work.
it.
I thought there was a sign that said
Is there
for
for-
specific uses.
I don't know. I have to double
Town.
check.
Town, church business only?
Something like, is it, I think so. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's designated that or anything like that. I'm just kind of, I'm asking more questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big conflict is like, doesn't happen that often, but sometimes there's a really big town meeting. Like, whether it's a school board meeting or something's happening, and then that lot fills up real quick. I've been here when that happens. Doesn't
Yeah, the
happen
lot
that
out
often,
front
but-
is owned by the Catholic Church, it's not owned by the town.
Correct.
But the lot in the back is owned by the town.
But
With
it is
an
also
with an
down
easement,
again,
too, I
parking on
think.
Railroad
The other thing
Street.
is an agreement too.
Yeah,
Shared
Yeah, the agreement
Yeah.
is that the church needs it,
Yeah.
they get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Parking down at the
Um,
salt storage.
Yeah, I guess my point was that there are other restaurants probably in
Yeah,
town
they
with
have
no
no parking.
on-site parking and that use municipal parking.
Yep.
And I was just trying to see if this was akin to downtown parking.
I think so. This is the M2 district, so it also has that facility with the workers as well. The reduction, the plan worker if they can find parking within 1,000 feet, I think, for their workers, that's a consideration of the planning board. I think, with agreements between town or using the public facilities, that's also an option. So I think there's opportunities for parking. I mean, Railroad Street, there's, down there, I'm not sure how far away that is. There's
Beach
park-
Street.
Beach Street, I'm not sure the lot down, Beach Street,
Well, Beach Street down here, Railroad
Yeah.
Street across the road.
right down there, yeah.
Right in
Across
front of
one-
town hall.
108,
Right.
That's not a lot of seats.
not 108, 152.
Yeah,
I like the
Would-
idea.
Would
that
you
devil's advocate
have
detail.
employees?
Just us.
Yeah, just at least to start, it'd probably be a progression.
Based
of-
on the seating size and probably the approximate capacity we're expecting, we handled rooms like that together in the kitchen and front of house, so we'd have a good handle on that, as far as our experience has gone so far.
And do you have to serve food as a condition of having for wine? Because I know like the breweries seem to be, the brew places seem to be, they don't have to serve food, right?
Yeah, so if we only went with one LLC, say we were just 100% a winery and the whole space was a winery, we could qualify to do tastings, which are much smaller pours, and there's a limit on how many. I believe it's like a 5-ounce pour, maximum of 2 for the entire time the customer's there. So this would allow us to be more flexible with a restaurant space where we're actually cooking food, and we'd be able to serve other wines too and apply for like a regular liquor license essentially. It would give us more options as business owners there to have a restaurant, and we think we'd bring some good kind of new types of bites to town as well, with Amanda's cooking, and there's a lot of kind of Portuguese food influence and European and Mediterranean influence and less fried stuff because of not having a hood vent and all of that. We wouldn't be able to actually fry things or put grease in the air, so it'd all be kind of like induction burners and an oven. So the cooking style would be in nature different just because of how our kitchen's set up, which might be cool to have some different types of food in town also.
Do you have a name yet?
No, we have set up our LLC, but that's kind of just the parent LLC.
I've started several companies, and the hardest thing to do is
Yeah, that's so true. I think about it every day.
I just want to clarify the parking. So in the M2 district, so off-site parking spaces are located within 500 feet of the site you provided. So they can find off-site parking in however way, it doesn't specify how, within 500 feet, that's legal. Then that's allowed. They can extend it to 1,000 feet if it's for employees. The board can.
And that's under,
This is the this is parking.
so it's under the ordinance.
It's under site plan review.
Oh, so we have a waivers ability. That's under site plan review, it's not an ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, we can deal with
Would
that.
we have some kind of regulation or whatever, if we say it's 500 square feet and it's a restaurant, how many people would be in it?
Yeah, that's up to the fire department, right?
So this building code,
Building
safety.
codes and stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't have a number. I was just wondering how many vehicles that would imply.
We do
Well,
have, we do have a calculation on how many vehicles would be required based on the number of seats.
Right.
The winery restaurant is providing.
So they would have to go to the
Yeah.
fire department and get a maximum capacity.
Right.
Basically,
Yeah.
put that on the plan, and then that dictates the parking they have. They would-
Right,
they
I
would
understand.
plan
I
it,
thought
yeah.
that we would
Yeah.
kind of know what that would be for, you know.
We will, when it gets in front of us, we'll know.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there a limit number on that? You know, within 500 feet, there must be 10% more than are proposed to be used, or anything like that?
Now, it just says off-site parking spaces located within 500 feet of the site shall be provided.
So if there's 8, let's just say
Yeah.
hypothetically, they say you need 8 spots. I mean, there's
And they can find 8.
8 municipal spots.
Yeah, they can demonstrate 8 spots are available.
Yeah. I was just wondering, 500 square feet doesn't sound like many people, and if you assume 2 people per car, that's,
And they don't have to be municipal spots either, right? They could be private properties.
Or you can lease them.
So they have a
Yep.
lease with,
Lease them from Doucette or.
Homeowner association.
Yeah, exactly. Association.
Can't put
But the point is, it's site plan review, it's not an ordinance, so we have the ability to be flexible and waive, you know, conditions under site plan review. I think the big thing would be to really figure out if this would trigger major. Because then they have to go that route, and you're gonna wanna sit down with, you know, the town planner, and
I think
as you've seen these applications before you, they're not really like this.
So my thoughts were, you know, I guess one, I want to ask a question. What do you need from the board tonight in order to move your application with the federal government, state government?
I think for us, this is more of,
Like a reassurance kind
Okay.
of like
yeah,
Great.
that
that
this is
there's
something
a
that was
possible.
interested.
So based on that, my idea is to keep the design review open.
Design review.
Yep. So that as plans develop, Spencer and Amanda can come in, say, hey, are we going the right direction? And the board can give guidance. And then at that point, when everyone's happy, they close the board close design review, and we go to site plan review, whether that be major or minor.
sounds good.
Yeah.
I see some,
No.
No.
see some
Right.
people out in the audience. You guys, anybody want to speak?
Oh, we live behind
Oh,
him, and we're all for it.
Yeah.
We would support it.
Do you have any parking?
yeah, do you have any parking?
You want to, yeah, if you guys,
Yes,
if
you
you
wanna
want to speak, get up to the microphone, please, and just introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are, please.
I'm Nancy Cathan. I'm a property owner at Kent Place, and I'm really concerned about the parking. If they chose not to enter an agreement with us to have spaces available, I'm concerned that the public, not knowing where to park, will park there anyway. We have legal concerns. We have repair and maintenance concerns, snow plowing in the winter concerns, and just encroachment on our own owners' spaces. Obviously, I can't speak for the association, but there could be the possibility of leasing spaces. But as I said, if there were 3 spaces and there were 4 cars and the town lot is full, they're going to overstep their agreement with the association. So I'm just raising that as a concern, that I'm not saying we wouldn't do it or that we're against it, but just that the parking is a consideration for us.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
For me, as an owner of the association.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or anything? So,
Just, I think it's definite. You know, keep it open.
can we keep it open indefinitely?
All right. How about
We opened it as a public hearing.
yeah? So
Well, do you wanna continue with design review, or are they just gonna,
well.
I think they really could be working with your office.
Okay, that's fine. I guess you can close design review, and if they need to come back, they always have the option to come back.
But then they would have to, renotice.
That's fine.
Right.
We would. But I think second question. when do you anticipate having plans, like architectural plans and stuff, like that, documents like that ready?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our general timeline, which would include that as well, we're not going to be ready by this harvest season. Kind of looking at our business and harvest seasons, we're not going to be commercially ready by this October when the next vintage is created, which puts us into next October of 2023 to start our first vintage in the winery space, which then it ages for up to a year. So we're talking about drinking wine that we produce after all our licensing is in-house by 2024. In that meantime of getting the winery going and licensed, then we would be working on getting those plans for the bathroom in place and the kitchen and the bar and all of the seating. So this is a little bit of kind of time out from opening for sure. So there's lots of time to kind of figure that out, I guess, and we want to get it done as soon as possible. Obviously, this is important, and but we do want to do it right, and we want to make sure that everyone is listened to. And I do agree with the parking, that people will park where they want to park no matter what, and I do agree with the statement that was made. So we want to make this work for everyone, and however we have to get there, we have time to do it. I mean, we're going to be living here no matter what, and this is our passion and our dream. And yeah, so I don't yet have a timeline on the actual architectural plan. This was kind of just a first hello from us and kind of our intentions and what we'd like to do. That's obviously a piece of the puzzle that needs to get done, and we're excited to do that, but we don't have a timeline yet on the architectural plan.
We've kind of been having people informally come and give, we're kind of figuring out how we want it set up, which side is on which side of the property, and kind of trying to get a general visual idea before giving the official.
So my recommendation, thank you. Thank you for, I think it's a great step, just introduction in this conversation. So my recommendation is to close design review, and then as Val said, it can work through our office, and then once it's ready for whatever permitting path it needs, she'll take that path.
And they understand. I think the only concern that this board has relative to what's been presented is parking.
So we'll definitely work on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So disclose design.
Disclose design review. Excellent.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Appreciate your time.
Welcome
Good
to
to
town.
seeing you.
Thank you.
Again.
Drinking with you.
All right, next is planning board priority list update. Do you want to give a quick update on that, Bart?
Yeah, so I anticipate by the next two items, one, that I'll have for the planning board a little presentation and language on the ADU amendments or accessory apartment amendments. I've been working on this for the past couple months. I think we'll be ready for planning board to review this first pass comment, so we can start that process.
So that'll be the next meeting, is that what you
Yep.
Yeah, great.
So, as we all know, this is a zoning ordinance, so it's the town council ultimately has to vote on it, but my understanding of the process, this is kind of an initiative of town, to planning board and town council have made this priority. So I think it's the most appropriate spot first is for the planning board to review it and make it into a form that's most complete to them. So this is the first step in that process. And then
great.
So yep, so working on that, and then also I would like to update the site plan review and subdivision regulations. A couple things on the docket will be fee scheduling. We need to update the noticing fees to be relevant for the times. At least that, we can board can take a look at other fees as well, but at minimum I would like the noticing fees to be updated because the town it's just outdated.
And is Sue still making all the copies of everything, or are the applicants providing the copies?
Applicant provides copies. mostly. Sometimes that gets lost in translation, and Sue's made copies. You know, the site plan, like my notes, sometimes she made copies and doesn't get formatted right, but it's a mix. So we're going to iterate that process as well to the applicant. And I also like to have a conversation with the board on like how many copies is adequate. Do we need 12 copies of everything? You know, what sizes? So again, go through that. So those are the two things that I would like to share with the board and have a discussion. So it would be a public hearing since we have to change it. Site plan and subdivision regulations. So I'm gonna set, I guess you would have to set that. I don't know what the proper procedure is. Do we set it now?
No, I think you get us the proposed changes, we can.
Yeah,
look
and then
at
you
it,
set
and
it then.
we
Put it on the
set
agenda.
Perfect.
Put it on the agenda.
Perfect. Yep. So same thing the ADU. So those are my
What was that?
updates.
You say same thing with the
ADU. So if the board is comfortable moving forward with the public hearing, setting the public hearing, or it needs a little more work on the document, we can do that. So
Yep, once we see it, we can.
yeah.
To the changes that we talked about earlier with fees, is there language that needs to come out of other
Just the ordinance.
portions of?
Yeah, just the site plan and subdivision regulations. I'll double check the ordinance itself, but I believe it's just under those two appendixes.
I think you're talking about the impact fees.
Yes.
No,
impact fees.
that ordinance needs
Oh,
to
yeah.
be updated.
Oh, correct. Yes. Yes. My apologies. I misunderstood.
But that doesn't have to come to the planning board.
Correct.
Town council can just deal with that directly.
Okay, so we're gonna have to review.
Right.
That's why we
Yeah.
just made a recommendation that
Right.
we supported, basically.
Right. The way, so just is process-wise, the way it's written, the town council wants planning board's recommendation before they move on it. So that's when chapter 32 is amended, and appendix A and appendix B is under the purview of planning board, and they can amend it anytime they wish, without any other boards or council's opinion.
Excellent. You good?
I think so.
Alrighty, chairman's report. I don't have anything to report, but Patrick, I got an email, and so I gotta throw this out there as a question. Patrick is recommending that we have planning board members sit on other boards, and there was the electric.
So here's the situation. We had the environment and energy, or is it energy and environment, Scott? I always get that confused. When that was initially created, it was set up so there would be a member from the planning board and a member from the conservation commission on the board. They then amended that and just said 6 members of the public. The reason I would encourage us to have a member again on that particular committee is the work that they are doing right now is going to have a large impact on things here in the town. With the community CPC, what does it stand for? Community, it's the groups of communities that are getting together to pool resources to buy energy, basically. And Newmarket has joined that effort pending final vote by the town council, but it sounds like they approve of it. They're also talking about they would like to update the master plan to include an energy plan, which is what a lot of other towns have done. So I think it's important for us to get someone on that committee so we can start getting up to date on what's going on so that when it comes time to write that energy plan, we've got the information in front of us.
That makes sense. My question is that how does that process work? The council needs to do that?
So someone from our group would have to put in an application to join the committee, and then it would go to the town council, and they would vote to approve that person sitting on the committee.
So it's a separate committee organized by the town council.
Yep.
And it's 6 appointed.
Yep.
6 appointed members.
Yep.
So it would be one of us not representing the planning board.
No.
It would be, as I think what Patrick's inferring is, it could behoove us as being on the planning board to be more in the know of what's going on with that committee. But it would be not a seat relative to the planning board at the
Oh, yeah, I thought you were talking about us having a seat, having to
No,
go
no,
through the
I,
council.
when I first
Patrick's saying, would any of us volunteer to be, you know, be appointed to that
I'm
committee?
volunteering, by the way, to do it. But I'm kind of disappointed that they got away from having a planning board member on there because I think that was a good thing and
I'm
a
not sure we were
conservation
ever
commission.
requested to appoint anyone to it.
But
Conservation was, I was on that.
Yeah, we had somebody on that.
yeah,
We did?
but
I can't remember what was it, Trevor?
but I also think that there could be a lot of people submitting applications
Right.
to be on that board. So I think if we submit and we can, I think it would be important to, if I submitted an application to be on, I would say I am doing this as a member of the planning board because I think it's important for the planning board to be involved in this process, especially as we're getting down to writing this huge document that is going to dictate how we work with this power cooperative, which is, again, it's a huge impact on the town. People don't seem to realize it would become the default power provider of the town.
Right.
So that affects development, affects everything.
And so when that committee was created, it must have been created with, because usually it's like, so it's five appointed, one member of this board, one member of that board. Then the town council changed that?
Yes.
Formally changed it?
Yes.
And how, do you know why they did that?
I do not. I
I
think
don't
they were having
remember that
trouble
change.
My guess is they were having trouble getting
getting people
Yeah.
to be there.
Because
Yeah,
I
that
thought
we're
Bill
really-
Tappan was doing all that. I mean, basically Bill Tappan, there's several power companies and they bid, right? And the bids that we get are judged both on price and percent renewable energy. And I know that the current one is a company in Maine, and Maine has a pretty significant renewable energy. They have a lot of wind and stuff. But my understanding is that we renew that contract on a rolling basis, and we could switch to somebody else. So I don't think we're locking in to one person.
I think, well, you should read the document that they're drafting right
Okay.
now as a committee, because that's going to come to you as
Yeah.
the town council, because you have the final approval. They don't approve it, but they are drafting the document. And my understanding is, yes, it might vary from year to year, but it starts out with you're locking into an agreement to provide power, and yes, considerations about renewable energy are part of that consideration, and price and
Yeah.
other things. It's all, but the whole point is to pool with other towns across New Hampshire to get those lower rates and
Yeah.
more renewable rates that aren't available today if you just go out and try and buy power today.
But the power is just for the town, right?
Right, but
It's not for Newmarket, it's for the government.
no, it's for every
Anyone
resident
can
in
buy it.
town would be by default enrolled. You could unenroll,
Okay,
but by
then that's
default
new.
you would be
So
enrolled.
currently the town, somehow they can shave off some, I don't know how you do it, but somebody somewhere sticks some electricity into the grid and we take it out of the grid and we pay a certain fee for it.
Right. This is all the ratepayers in the town.
Yeah, so this
Yeah,
is
well-
replacing,
Eversource is the
Eversource
default.
or whoever, right?
Eversource is currently like your default. If you don't sign up for anything,
Yeah.
you would just get
This is the
Eversource.
Yeah, because you have the ability to sign up for a variety of other
There's another electric
suppliers,
company, yeah.
Right.
not delivery.
Yeah.
Right. So it would supplant Eversource as the default, and the CPC group would become
Becomes the
the
default.
default.
Okay,
Supplier,
I'm not aware of
not
that.
deliverer.
Yeah, well, that's what they're
Eversource
drafting
owns the
right now. I think
largest
they're gonna bring it to
distribution.
you either at that July meeting or the one after that.
Okay.
So,
So I think what I keep hearing Patrick say is it just behooves it would behoove or benefit the town if someone who has the interest in also being involved with the planning board in town would also be involved with that committee. And what I'm hearing is you're thinking of signing up.
yeah, I'm thinking of signing up because I think, again, especially if one of the expectations is we're going to create an energy plan as part of the master plan.
Well,
we should,
That's totally under the purview of the planning board
Right.
as to the master plan.
That's why you'd be a
So-
good applicant.
yeah,
You know.
but we need to have information that fits that.
But I think if you're
into
a
what the
non-voting
town-
member, then the town council has nothing to do with it. You can, this committee can assign you to that committee, or they can jointly go, if you
Well,
wanna
go
be
ahead
a,
and fill out the application and maybe go to that
if you wanna
town
be a
council
full
meeting.
voting member, then it has to go through town council.
Yeah, I think I would go as a voting member.
Okay.
So you can be appointed to any committee, even if it's full, just as a non-voting member?
I think so.
I think you can attend the meetings,
attend the meetings,
but
but
you're
you're
not
a
a member of the
Yeah.
committee. You have to be, if
Yeah.
you're a member of a committee, you have to be appointed, or, right, by
Yeah.
either the board, if they have
Yes.
if the board has an appointed seat on the committee.
A non-voting member is just an attendee.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for wanting to do that, that is interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be a big piece. Thank you. One other thing is, one of the priorities is I think we're gonna start looking at rezoning the North Main Street, you know, the North Gateway area. Again, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Had a conversation with Steve and, the town manager, and, I think it's time we try to do something up there.
Is there a preliminary map publicly available?
Yeah, yes, there is.
Do we have the old, we could dig out the old proposal under M2A for the whole corridor.
I think I've seen it, I just haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
it's available on the planning office.
I think it's a good idea.
Where is it, where would I find it,
Oh,
do you think?
online, I'm not sure, but it's in our office.
Okay.
Yeah, in the planning department's office. It might be online.
It might be in an old agenda, actually,
Yeah. Right.
when we had the joint meeting, maybe.
Was it
I
Steve
think it was
Arnett?
presented then.
His name?
Yeah, Stu Arnett.
Stu Arnett, so
Yeah,
whenever
that,
that
right,
was.
when
Yeah.
we had the joint meeting
Yeah.
with the town
Yeah.
council,
Yep.
maybe that agenda's published.
Yeah, all the agendas and the agenda items and packets are online. So, I could find those dates.
And then
Anybody-
there's also the presentation made to the council by the planning board. It was M2A zone for the north.
That was
You can
back
go-
in, what, 2011?
When the M2A zone was actually approved, it would have been at the same time period. Because it was the council that voted to remove North Main.
All right, anybody have any committee reports?
Conservation was prior to our last meeting, so the only thing I would say is that there's another guest speaker this Thursday, Natch Gray, if I say his name correctly. Our guest speaker's been great, he's gonna do a talk on carnivorous plants.
Oh, cool.
Should be interesting.
Okay.
And bog plants.
Does anybody have anything else they wanna add?
Council's on the summer, we take off a few
Hiatus.
meetings in the summer.
Excellent. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you all very much.